Hello?
Hi, how are you today?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Good. How's your day? How's everybody?
My grandparents are great. I went and saw some Christmas lights last night.
Oh, that's nice. How's oh yeah, warrior. I was
I don't
busy,
know.
but yeah, what day would be good for you to debate BBM?
I mean, if we're talking about Australopithecines, probably give me like 3 days after Christmas, and I will be
Okay,
prepared. But
that'd be good.
I wouldn't mind having a discussion today because I'm in a better position to defend Noah's flood.
Oh, you wanna
Yeah,
have a little?
go ahead and have. Huh?
Oh, you like have a debate today?
No, but if he's available and he wants to come talk to me, I'm in a better position to handle his claims, not necessarily about genetic, uh, what did he call it, speciation, but more the merits of whether or not the flood was possible in the first place.
Yeah, I sent a link to him.
Or, and you know, there's other aspects. Like our previous discussion, I found some of the papers I was looking for. I sent a link in the description of one of your videos. I think it was the one. Hold on, I'll see the title. Uh, the goodness of God. There's
Oh,
a
and that one?
link in that video. Yeah, there's a link in that video. I want him to take a look at, and some other information that I'm ready to present if he's
Oh, that'd
ready.
be awesome. Yeah, I sent him a link.
Yeah,
If
I'm in a better position, but it better not be no 3-on-1 either, right?
yeah,
If this is going to be a discussion, it's got to be between him and I.
okay. But uh, how's yeah. Do you do you know how what was the what would you good at debating about Noah's Ark?
Well, the issue that Big Bad Mama was trying to bring up was speciation, and I'm not prepared to debate that. And as much as it embarrasses me, I don't have the biblical knowledge to refute. Um, Ayden, if I'm to say something incorrect, he'll just bust the Bible out and prove me wrong. So, you know, it's kind of an interesting vector that they picked. Um, you know, it's clever, but I saw it, and I don't want to go down that road for ridicule just because they see I'm weak in a certain area and they want to hit me where it hurts. Yeah, I'm I'm coming to professionals asking questions by
Oh,
myself, right? They should be comfortable answering my questions. They shouldn't be changing tactics and subjects in order to make me look foolish because I'm asking questions they can't answer.
yeah, that'd be an awesome debate between Super Predator versus Big Bad Mama. The mighty Dustin.
What's she gonna do? Throw her hair curls at me? I'm sitting here. I'm shooting like nano wire netting at her, and she's throwing her hair curlers back at me. I don't even need a shoulder cannon. My lasers are in my eyes. I mean, come on. Can you imagine X-ray infrared vision?
Oh, look what Ayden said. I was. What do you think?
You didn't answer them though. When did you answer? You said you were comfortable. What was the answer? See, that's the difference between you and me, Ayden. I can admit when I'm uncomfortable answering questions, right? You have this pride thing that won't allow you to not know things. You don't know everything, Ayden. I guarantee it.
Mm, wow, the mighty Dustin versus the mighty Ayden in a mighty fight.
Like the bottom line is you guys just don't have the evidence. You claim that monkeys and humans split, but you don't have the evidence. I mean, if you could prove that, maybe you'd go a long way, you know. But I have a couple of papers in the description for subduction, a mantle, like a deep core of cold oceanic crust that almost touches the inner troposphere of the Earth, but it hasn't heated up for millions of years. No, you didn't provide answers. You didn't. You squirmed and you tried to play your mental jujitsu, but you didn't really answer any of my questions.
Big Bad Mama.
Hi, how you guys doing?
What's
He
going
said
on,
he wanted
BBM?
to
Not too
have a
much.
discussion with you.
What's that?
Did you get the link on the description of God is Goodness? It's got some papers in there that I was hoping you would be interested in reviewing.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Where
they did
was
P
it?
wave. They did P wave topography. It's in the. Can you hear me?
It's in
Yeah.
the God is good description.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind pulling that up and maybe putting it on the screen, we could have a discussion about it.
I can't do that. I'm on my phone.
Oh, I figured you were on your computer.
Let me look at
Well,
them, and then next time we get together, because I'd like to read them first before I just start to comment on them.
Okay, I just figured you would have maybe known about it before I did, but
I mean,
no, that's
frankly, a
fine. Go
lot of
ahead.
this stuff I haven't studied in a long time,
Oh,
so I would need a refresher, I think.
oh.
well, this
But
particular paper outlines the. Remember when we were having the discussion about the Mid Atlantic Ridge?
right.
Right.
Okay.
So this paper explains the deep plumes of what do you call it? It would be, I think they claim it's oceanic crust, but they run deep into the earth and touch the inner lithosphere, where
Okay.
and they've remained cold for millions of years. Like there's no real explanation for it.
So it's it sounds like it's a subduction zone type of issue.
Right.
Okay.
At least that's the way they frame it in the paper.
Let me take a look at it. But Dustin, I just wanted to say about yesterday, I really wasn't trying to mock you or do anything like that. I just thought, we're having a two-way discussion, and we're talking about evolution, and we're open with our beliefs in evolution. And I just thought I wanted to know where you're coming from and what your interpretation was of either evolution, or if you don't believe in any evolution. So I think that was fair to ask you that. I know it comes across that we're a lot of people and some of us are very vocal, but believe me, I did not want to be seen as bullying you or mocking you or anything.
It's just my line of questioning was along a different mode of thinking. Okay, right? And the other end of the equation is there's a lot of pressure on me to display my knowledge of the Bible, but I have an issue when it comes to absorbing information when it comes in a story form rather than a textbook type of setting. So when you ask me questions about like Noah's flood and things, like I can remember the story, but certain details elude me and it makes me look foolish when I'm forced to answer. So yeah, I mean, in a way, you may have inadvertently not meant to put me on the spot and make it a point of ridicule, but the reality is I have religious friends that will look at me differently because of the way that I represent the Christian view, and I don't want to deal with that. Whereas I'm coming to professionals with what I see as legitimate questions. You know, I mean, there's a little bit of a little bit of an offset there. I think you need to acknowledge.
Right, but you have to acknowledge that it's not just a one-way conversation, and it's not just you asking us questions. That in a conversation, we're allowed to ask you questions about and I'm not asking you really about Noah's flood. I'm asking you about what happened after Noah's flood with all the animals and what we would term evolution, which, we don't believe there was a Noah's flood, that evolution just has occurred for billions of years. But I just wanted what you believe about what happened with animals after the flood, if you believe in the flood, which I think you do, and to explain how our current biodiversity is what it is. So I really don't think it was out of left field, but I know that you feel
we can have that conversation, right? But the way you phrased the question locked me into a biblical view that, again, I'm trying to explain to you the details of information displayed to me in the form of a story don't stick as well as information and details that are put in a textbook form. So if I was to answer your question, the odds are I would have said something wrong. It would have become a point of ridicule, not only for this group, but for other groups. Okay? I wasn't comfortable answering the subtext of the question. That's why I felt attacked. I think you would be aware, at least given the amount of exposure you have to both communities, that I have been ridiculed and at least has been a criticism put forward to me that I don't read the Bible. And I do read the Bible. It just doesn't stick as well.
Right, but my interest wasn't really in your knowledge of Bible text. It was basically I've heard what I call pseudo-scientific explanations for what happened after the flood, creation science explanations. And I was just wondering if you were familiar or if you adhered to any of those ideas.
I adhere to all of those ideas.
Yeah.
I just don't have a sufficient understanding of them. Okay? Right?
If you don't have a sufficient understanding of your side of the equation, though, then why are you going around making criticisms of other people's?
What criticism did I make? Was I asking questions? Was I asking questions, or did I criticize you for something?
You were spending an hour poking holes in our ideas and what we thought
That's
was
not criticism.
The case of reality. It is criticism in the colloquial sense of the word. That is criticism. Yes, absolutely. You're trying to find fault. You're trying to find fault in our point of view, and in trying to find that, yes, you were. It was quite obvious that was your objective.
I mean, Ayden, it could be obvious that was my objective. It also could be obvious that I was asking questions for clarification.
Right, there's clarifying questions, and then when you are given the answers to those questions, you're never satisfied with them.
Well, because you didn't answer the questions. It is a mechanism. It is a mechanism of history that a question that is improperly answered will be asked again.
Okay.
You're not always going to get the answer you want, though, Dustin. And, I think we did answer your questions. And in fact, I admitted, yes, we don't have a skeleton of the common ancestor for monkeys and humans, but we do have transitions between ancient monkey species and current humans. So that was the answer to your question. I'm admitting that no, we don't have that exact skeleton. The odds of having an exact transitional fossil like that are astronomical. So I think I did answer your question there.
I think that was a cop out. I think that it's a way to divert from the idea that you don't have all the evidence that you need to prove your theory. I mean,
how is that a diversion? That's an overt admission that the standard of evidence that you're asking for under these circumstances is not a standard that we in that moment could meet. That's not a diversion. That's an open admission.
And yet the theory persists.
Well, yeah, of course the theory persists, Dustin, because you're talking about one very small thread in a much wider tapestry, and because this one thread has a fray in it, you're going, well, the rest of the tapestry must just be crap. Just throw the whole thing out.
Buddy, you don't have to be so aggressive, okay? I'm not being aggressive.
Dustin, I'm sorry, but I'm frustrated with you at the moment because
that's understandable, and I can identify with your frustration, but it's not necessary to have the bass in your voice, right? Which you would accuse me of being aggressive with.
No, I'm openly telling you that I'm frustrated with you. I'm not trying to be aggressive with you. I'm sorry if I came off that way. I am frustrated with you, though. And the basis for my frustration is the fact that when we tried engaging with you on a level similar to that with which you were engaging with us, you threw your hands up and said, well, you're just trying to divert the conversation and you're just trying to persecute me and make me look silly. No, we're not. That wasn't what we were trying to do at all.
You personally have been in the room when I have been accused of not reading my Bible. You personally.
And did I defend you?
In the room. That's not the point. I read the Bible. I don't understand the Bible because of the context it's presented in. Now, if you give me the Bible in a a textbook form, I probably would know the Bible better than you. But that's because my brain is designed to absorb information that way. Okay? I don't learn things when they're told to me in a story. So it's a weakness. That's why I felt attacked. I mean, if you don't understand that, I mean, then you have no reason to be mad at me over what I said to Gangster Ghost.
I mean, I can't account for your feelings because I'm not you. I can listen to your feelings. Well, no, hold on, listen. I can listen to your feelings and I can empathize with them, but I would ask you do the same for me when I say that all of my interactions with the Proverbs Guys channel is them trying to find any kind of weakness they possibly can, any chink in the armor of my ideas and forms of discussion. And never once, when they thought that they had found something like that, did I go, oh, well, you know what? I just don't want to talk about that because you're going to make me look silly. Like, I'm sure I've made myself look silly once or twice on that show. I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm almost certain that you couldn't back that claim up. I'm almost certain. I guarantee there's been times
I couldn't back what claim up?
Subjects. I guarantee there has been times people have brought up subjects that you've thrown your hands up at. I guarantee it. I guarantee
that I've thrown my hands up at?
And said I don't want to talk about it. I guarantee it.
If I said I didn't know about something, then that's one thing, obviously, but I don't think that your claim is that you don't know the Bible. You're just saying you don't have a sufficient amount of knowledge to be able to tackle that subject as comprehensively as you'd want to.
Ding, ding, ding. My message has made it through. Okay yes, I felt attacked. What?
Dustin, I wasn't asking for your biblical interpretation. I was asking for your creation science explanation, and I thought maybe you did have one because a lot of people have tried to explain what happened to animal species after the flood. In fact, Mark, who's here, hi Mark.
Hey, how's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Mark mentioned punctuated equilibrium occurred after the flood, And that's his model, that there was a very fast speciation event, which I would call a speciation event, post-flood. And that's an explanation from a creationist perspective. So that's what I wanted to hear from you. I did not want to hear your interpretation of Genesis or anything like that. I wanted to hear it in terms of how it related to science. So I wasn't coming at it from a theological discussion. I was coming at it from a scientific discussion.
Do you acknowledge that there are other consequences to you having a scientific conversation if you were to make a rookie mistake, for example, as though it would be to a point of ridicule?
So yeah, but I make rookie mistakes all the time. I mean,
right. But I don't deal with it the same way you do. I'm not like you.
Talking, you know, it's everybody's
I called the rape of Lot's daughters. I called the rape of Lot's daughters the rape of Noah's daughters mistakenly in chat at one point, and David called me out on it, and I fully admitted to my mistake there. We're all going to make mistakes and make an ass of ourselves every once in a while.
I admitted to my mistake yesterday to Mark Stoney, and you know that there's bad blood there. Dude, I know how to admit my mistake. I didn't want to make one. There's a difference. And I think that you guys know that it has been a criticism that I don't read my Bible. I think you know that. I really do. I think that there is a nefarious element to this.
But you do know, Dustin, you do know, you do kind of study Standing for Truth's material and kind of the things that he's putting forward. So I think you do know a little bit more than you're giving yourself credit for in terms of scientific explanations from a creationist perspective of different things. Am I wrong?
You would be wrong in the respect for how they relate to one another. I understand the science. I understand what he's saying when he talks about science, because it's in a textbook review form. I understand those things. I've demonstrated that in a legal sense. I've demonstrated that in a science sense. I've demonstrated that in a psychological sense before almost everyone in this room, except for Claude, who would deny any kind of knowledge that I display in a confident form.
Well,
that's not true. That's true. He said just yesterday that he thought that you were an intelligent person, so that's not true.
I didn't say intelligent. I said competence.
I mean, yesterday I didn't even mention your biblical interpretation. I just wanted to know how you accounted for. Let me finish real quick. I just wanted to know how you accounted for the current biodiversity on the planet, and I wanted your idea because, of course, you're questioning us about our idea, and we're open to admitting that we accept evolution as that idea. So I thought maybe you would be open or have the knowledge to give us your idea.
No, not in the setting that it was yesterday. Not coming from the perspective that we were in.
That's okay. That's
right.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I tried to explain that. I really did multiple times. Right. But you persisted in asking the question, and that's where the issue is.
Well, you know what you did is you kind of at first said I was diverting the conversation, which kind of irked me because I was on the topic the entire time of talking about speciation and branching, phylogenetic branching and that kind of thing. But then you changed it to the topic that you're not comfortable talking about it because you don't want to be mocked. So you did change that kind of midway through.
Am I speaking Japanese or something? Did I not just say that you guys have personally, or at least Ayden for sure, and I know that you've watched enough of Proverbs guys to know that one of the main criticisms of me is that I don't read my Bible. You brought it up in a biblical perspective.
Why the hell do you care what Proverbs guys says about your biblical knowledge?
Why do I care? Because I actually care about what my friends think about me, unlike you. That I don't read my Bible.
Well, that's not true. It's not that I don't care what my friends think about me, but if somebody uses something like a lack of knowledge as a point to push you around or bully you like I've seen Stephen do to you before, that's an entirely horse of a different color.
I don't necessarily see it as bullying so much as social pressure to get me to read my Bible. And I don't see that as being a bad thing. I just don't think he understands that I don't understand a story type setting. I read my Bible a lot. Okay.
Let me ask you
I
something
have
on
it
that
on
point,
my phone.
Dustin. Let me ask you something on that point. Why did Jesus speak in parables?
Why did Jesus speak in parables? Because if he was
Yes.
to speak of, he does, because his um, the apostles, I think that's the right word, didn't believe him when he spoke of earthly things. So why would they believe him if he spoke of heavenly things?
Well, the answer is actually found in Matthew chapter 13, and
See, and this is what I'm talking about.
Asked. And
this is what I'm talking about. I can't come up with a comprehensive enough answer. Well, but I feel that way because I don't have the knowledge requisite to answer this question. It makes me feel awkward because I feel like I should. I don't want to be ridiculed for this. Well,
I'm not ridiculing
okay.
you. I'm giving you the answer because Jesus provided it. The disciples, and I'm going to read straight from Matthew chapter 13, starting in verse 10. If you want to read along, the disciples came and said unto him, "Why speakest thou unto them in parables?" And parables are stories. They're story form. And Jesus answered unto them, saying, "Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them, the unbelievers, it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, for him shall be taken away, even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand." So what we have right there in that little bitty passage, we can unpack a lot. Why did Jesus speak in parables? Well, for many reasons: to make the kingdom of God easier to understand, to challenge conventional wisdom, to encourage his audience to deeper meaning, to understand a deeper meaning of his words, and to reveal truths to those who are spiritually in tune to his teaching. So the reason that a lot of scripture is in story form and parable form is not to, make it harder to understand. It's to actually grant understanding to those who are seeking him.
My brain's not wired that way. I don't understand.
I don't know if that's
it.
necessarily true though, Mark, because the apostles actually they asked Jesus, because he spoke plainly to them but spoke to the unbelievers in parables. And to my knowledge, Jesus basically replied saying, "Well, I don't want the believers to have this knowledge, or the unbelievers rather, to have this knowledge. I don't want them to plainly know."
Jesus explicitly says that he spoke in parables to reveal the kingdom to the believers, not to make it more convoluted for them, but for those who are spiritually in tune with the kingdom of Christ. The understanding is given. It's not that it's impossible to understand for anybody. It's that you have to have a truth seeking mindset and focus on Christ to be able to understand these profound truths that he provides in parables. I mean, it wasn't that he just spoke to his disciples in parables, or just to the general public in parables. This is how he taught. He taught in parables so that those who were seeking the truth, they would get this critical thought process going through this parable to really put their knowledge, their biblical knowledge. Of course, they would already be pretty in tune with the Old Testament. That's been around for thousands of years at this point when Jesus comes around, or at least some of it. But the purpose is to make it clear, not to convolute it.
Well, parables have multi-meanings depending on who's reading the parable as well.
Exactly.
That's why Jesus spoke in parables, because a parable would reach many men on many different levels, and some at a deeper spiritual level than a person might just read a superficial interpretation of a parable, but others might get really deep meaning out of it.
Exactly. And that's what Jesus is explaining in Matthew chapter 13. So, Dustin, I would challenge you to, when you see these stories, these parables, to not just brush off, "That's not how my brain works," but to critically think, what's being portrayed here? What is the image that is being painted that the discerning eye can decipher?
Well, and I think one of the other important aspects of it as well is that there's not necessarily just one image to be found in these stories, and that's one of the things that Big Bad Mama touched upon. The point of it being a parable is the fact that it reaches different people in different ways.
Yeah. And it was actually prophesied that Jesus would speak in parables. In verse 14, he says, "And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive." So there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of people that are familiar with Scripture. They're well versed in it, but they don't understand it. And Dustin, what you're saying kind of paints yourself in that light. But my challenge to you is, instead of just throwing your hands up and saying that's not how my brain works, don't rely so much on your brain and your own understanding. This is another thing that Jesus said: don't lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him. So instead of trying to understand with your brain, focus your attention on Christ. Hear His words, let them speak what they say, and then you can apply your understanding to it. But if you're so focused on, oh, this is too much to understand, I don't feel like, I can think this way, don't do that. Be diligent in your studies and do think critically. And you bring up criticism a lot, critical thinking, critical questions, criticism. It's not a bad thing. When you ask critical questions, you get critical answers, and that will broaden your horizon. So don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? If you're wrong, someone will correct you, and that's okay. None of us are expected to know everything. None of us are expected to have complete understanding. That's impossible. There's just too much knowledge out there for one brain. But open your mind and let the Scripture speak to you, instead of trying to decipher so hard and in your own mind, in your own ways. Try to glean the spirituality of the message from it.
Well, I feel like part of the reason why he keeps bringing up Proverbs Guy's community, and please, Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong about this, because this is entirely armchair psychology bullshit, but I honestly think the reason why he's this, as you put it, afraid to be wrong is because whereas here being wrong is just par for the course and an accepted part of discourse, you're maligned and ashamed if you're wrong over there. You're castigated and said, no, that's horrible. And I think that's a horrible mentality for any community to have.
I'm not so much the community, but a particular individual by the name of Stump. Yeah, that's my issue. Is that
well, Stump has been nothing but a poison to that channel. Let's be real. He's the one that turned on Christian, and he was involved in what happened with Logan. I've just seen what you guys would call good fruit from the guy.
Well, let me ask you this, Dustin. Is it Stump that's accusing you of not reading your Bible?
That's one of his major criticisms.
Okay, so I haven't had very many interactions with Stump, but I recall one time when I went on, I think it was Proverbs Guy Show. I don't recall, but we were discussing Romans chapter 9 and very pinpointed. I think it was verse 22 that we were discussing. And I asked him a question about the very topic we were discussing, and he didn't even know what we were talking about. It was like he was so lost in whatever was going through his mind. It's like my question was foreign to him, and his answer was just so beyond the pale. I asked him, "Do you even read your Bible?" And he went off the chains. So for him to, get so offended when somebody asks him a question, but then he turns around and uses that as a battering ram against you, that doesn't speak anything bad about you. That shines on him. That's his hypocrisy. That's his unwilling to provide an environment that's conducive to learning and iron sharpening iron. No, Stump just wants to be right. That's all that matters to him. And I don't think you should fall into that trap of only ever wanting to be right, because if you're only ever right, I mean, how are you going to learn? How are you going to grow?
That's the reason I didn't answer the question, because I knew I didn't have the right answer. It's not about it. And I grow plenty, Mark. I really do. I read the Bible. I study the Bible. I
I
do.
don't doubt that.
It's just not sticking. It's the memory issue. Okay, right? Like,
Repetition.
I don't know.
It's repetition.
I know, but I don't. It
When
would
you
make a
meet somebody
lot.
new, it takes 27 times of saying their name before you don't have to think about it. That's been studied. So the human brain needs repetition. It needs that positive reinforcement of the knowledge that you're learning in order to hold on to the memories and hold on to the understanding. I mean, you can't just glance over this stuff. You really have to give it its space to speak for itself, but also you've got to give yourself the leeway to be wrong and to take correction. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if we were always right, we'd never be wrong and everybody would be perfect, but that's just not reality. That's not the world we live in. So don't be afraid to be wrong. And if you are asked a question that you can't answer comfortably, answer it with a question. That's what Jesus did. Of course,
I don't.
He wasn't so much uncomfortable answering the questions. It's just that the questions he was asked were very loaded, so he would throw it right back in their face. But that's how Jesus did it. He answered questions with questions, and it shut them up quite often.
So to answer your question, Big Bad Mama, I believe that the majority of the species that we see today were represented on the ark. Yes, the majority. There are maybe a few new species of dog that there wasn't before. There may be a few new species of elephant that there wasn't before. Um, and the list goes on. Like the duck-billed platypus, that's an oddity of nature and science that defies explanation on many different levels. But I don't see it being having some kind of a. I mean, that would be the best evidence that you would have for, I guess, what you would call uh, the ability to split, because most mammals don't lay eggs, right? So if there was going to be any other kind of a species that would be a split, it would be from the duck-billed platypus, because it's got two different directions it can go in. It can either become a mammal or it could become avian, in my opinion.
Well, it's a mammal. It's a monotreme.
I know it's
like an echidna.
I know. I know. It's an oddity though, and I think you know that.
It is an oddity, yeah. Marsupials are an oddity in general, but monotremes are even more so. I mean, the duck-billed platypus is so strange.
You know what's really an oddity? Humans. I mean, it's almost like we don't even belong here. We burn in the sun. We drown in the water. We can't fly. It's almost like we're the aliens in this world.
But we worked together, and that was our strength, is we cooperated in social groups, and we were able to, we could hunt in packs, basically.
Sure.
And but that's not necessarily an advantage. We see that in nature, right? Communication is not even necessarily a new trick. Wolves have been doing it. Right. So do elephants.
Yeah, I guess it's more like complex language that's being touched upon here, because there's definitely some degree of communicability, and there is in fact some ape species that we've been able to teach at least a degree of language to. But as far as
guys, I gotta go have lunch real quick. I'll be back.
We've ever taught apes language.
Okay.
Well, we haven't ever been able to teach them
Coco,
to speak.
Right?
Yeah, we've never teach them how to speak, obviously. I don't think that they literally have the anatomy to be able to form the words that come out of our mouths.
Or even understand the linguistics.
I disagree. I think there's a level.
Coco
is one example.
That did the sign language. That's been proven to be a total fraud. Coco's handler was basically forcing her answers, and if you watch the I think it was a commercial or like some kind of promo, that it was chopped up and cut up, and they were getting Coco to make the sign language with her hands, but if it wasn't for the magic of video editing, all Coco wants is food.
Okay, but in nature, social groups of chimps, bonobos, and gorillas have complex communication involving mannerisms, hand gestures, facial expressions, and guttural vocalisms.
Right, but you have to make the distinction between communication and language. Language is something that
Why?
is very unique to humans.
Well, what is language except a much more complex it's basically a compounding of communicabilities, different forms of communicabilities upon one another using pattern recognition as the way of arriving at the means of being able to even form a language. And I think that the pattern recognition that you even see, because I've seen what you're talking about, at least an article or two about how the whole Coco thing wasn't nearly as black and white as they made it seem. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was a hoax. I just think that what it exhibits to me is the earliest forerunners of what a language is, which is just a very complex series of pattern recognition that a creature undergoes in order to understand that if I do this thing, whether it be a hand gesture or a verbiage or any one of those different things, pheromones even in some creatures, if I do this thing, I will get this response back in return. That is the foundation that all languages are built upon.
Sure, but I mean, still, even in saying that, language, communication, yes, there are very, very advanced communication means. Look at dolphins, they can communicate with each other. Plants can communicate with each other to a degree, but it's not language. There is a distinction between communication and language, because even us who are able to speak with language, we still have other forms of communication that are different from the spoken language. We have sign language, we have body language, we have all these things, but they're distinct from spoken word, spoken language.
I just think we've gone so far down the evolutionary path that we've divorced ourselves from our relationship with animals and plants as well. And we have a hard time making that, people that accept evolution know that connection and can trace that connection back. But I think religious folks have lost that connection largely because of how they've interpreted the Bible. But they view humans as something otherworldly, and whereas I see an ape, that has special properties and can do things because of its evolutionary history.
Well, you've got to look at the environmental pressures that gave rise, at least what we can see through the archaeological records that we can find. We see circumstance arise where humans are pressured in ways that other animals necessarily aren't, in terms of not only with their anatomy, how they are equipped to solve problems. You touched upon that earlier, Mark, the whole we burn in the sun, we drown in the water, all of that. That's absolutely true. I would agree with that. But I think that it was a compounding of that anatomy reflecting a need for more complex problem solving, and that complex problem solving giving rise to a more exaggerated form of that anatomy, which is why I think we see things like the disproportionality of our brain case and the mass of our brain compared to the rest of our body, compared to other apes that we see even just in our recent past. I think basically the two of those factors compound upon each other over a period of time to exaggerate things like that. And the fact that we were able to cook our food, that was a huge part of why our brains were able to become the way they were.
Digestion. So you're putting that on environmental factors that drive the advancement of evolution and our language and everything. If I'm hearing you correct, right?
I would say that, yeah, if you only had to pick one factor that gave rise to how we are right now, I would choose the environment if I had to pick one.
Sure, and that is undoubtedly a major driving factor in the theory of evolution is the adaptation to the environment. But that begs the question, if the environment is such a major driving factor, how come we haven't all evolved to be much more similar? Why is there such a massive gap between the intellect of humans and the intellect of our closest supposed relative, the apes?
Because the humans ended up diverging in the climates that they ended up inhabiting compared to most ape species. Like, even within the early Neolithic, we find evidence of humans moving out of areas that were typically inhabited by chimps or monkeys, or I know chimps are monkeys, but other monkeys like bonobo species and the likes of that. That could be due to overpopulation within that area driving up competition. That could be due to a wide variety of different environmental circumstances. But I don't think the environment in of itself is the exclusive thing. I think that it plays the largest role. But ultimately, like I said, if I had to pick a second place candidate for that, it would be.
Are you there?
Let me build upon
Ayden's
that a little
afraid
bit.
to answer.
Let me build upon that a little bit. So
Sure.
Chimps and bonobos and other ape species live in rainforests primarily, and they're perfectly suited to that niche. But at some point, there was an ape species that saw opportunities down in the grasslands, and maybe it was an abundance of food and what have you. But at some point, a species started to walk upright. And with opposable thumbs and walking upright with, an expanding neocortex, the field was open for evolution for that species.
Sure, but
Ayden,
why?
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
Why is it only the human race, the human species, that has so dramatically evolved to the point where we are, where we can create our own intelligence even through artificial intelligence? I mean, there's no other instance in the animal kingdom where you see a sentient being not only being able to communicate with language, but also create other languages in with which to communicate with other entities such as electronics. And I know that's like not something that the animals can do or anything, but the analogy is
Mark.
there.
Hi, Mark.
But at the same time, we've never been able to get a human to be able to bench press the same amount as a silverback gorilla.
Right.
We've never been able to get a human to be able to have the same upper arm strength as a chimp. And I think this is an important aspect in that they have specialized in specific niches to meet their environmental needs. And it seems through the consequences of what Big Bad Mama was talking about evolving towards a more upright posture conducive to better survivability in a grassland environment, that seems to have been conducive to specializing in a niche that's more particular towards complex problem solving.
So why is it that, given the same, all things equal in the same environments, and yeah, I get that environments change from region to region, location to location, but I just don't see how these environments could be so dramatically different from one another to produce such an advanced species, whereas all the other species that came from the same environment, whether they moved on or remained, have not followed that same evolutionary path. Why is there such a divergence? Because evolution is the survival of the fittest, the might makes right, all that. And
might makes right.
Sure, but in saying that, why is it that we as humans have somehow happened upon this path to such an advanced evolutionary existence, whereas the same animals or creatures that we used to share environments with, they went completely different ways?
I think the term advanced evolution that Big Bad Mama, I'm sure that they meant it in a colloquial term, but in an academic term, I don't think anybody would say that humans are more advanced in their evolution than a chimp or a whale or any one of those different species. We're just as advanced as a blue whale. We've just advanced in a different direction in terms of the niche that we've inhabited. And you were talking about, well, I can't see how there's these two different environments could be just so drastic to give rise to such different change. I think Darwin's finches are a great example of, you literally have the Galapagos Islands, which are only, a couple 100 kilometers away from each other. You still see within a distance that close to one another a large morphological change take place.
Well, I
due
mean,
to
you say
environmental
large
adaptation.
morphological change, but in reality, it was what, a few centimeters on the beaks of the different
Which, compared to the
birds?
body mass of the bird, is a large morphological change.
Sure, but would that not be an adaptation to the environment?
Absolutely, which is the point we're trying to make, is that those adaptations to the environment compound upon one another over time.
So what was the biggest difference in the environments of the different Galapagos Islands? If you've studied Darwin, it's the food source that was available. The finches that developed
Correct.
a stronger beak, a longer beak, their food source was more difficult to.
Yeah, they were burrowing species.
They had to have stronger beaks. I would say that that's not necessarily new information in the genetic lineage, but rather an expression of these genes that are maybe dormant in another environment because of environmental factors. I just don't see how, it can just manifest itself. A new gene can just manifest itself into a beneficial mutation.
Well, it's a recombination. It's a recombination of genes, right? And I would say that the word information doesn't really belong in biology. It's using a computer term almost to simulate a chemical reaction. And I just never have liked that term information because it indicates there's a programmer. And what you're describing, well, nothing. I'm not gonna.
Sure.
Nothing is inherently wrong with that.
Nothing's inherently wrong with that. But as Ayden was just saying, these changes compound on each other, and unless you accept, deep time, which let's face it, at this point, we have so much evidence of deep time, both in the fossil record and in phylogenetic trees, tracing back lineages,
in cosmology,
radiometric dating, ice core dating, that it's, trying to fit this into a 6,000 year time clock is problematic, but we don't have that 6,000 year time clock in science.
Well, I think when Mark's talking about new information, I don't think that the ability to communicate with each other is strictly a new thing so much as a reinvention of the same things that we see in nature, just interpreted through a different lens. Like, I would say that the complex pheromones that ants use to communicate with each other, or bees use to communicate with each other, would have to be extremely complex in their variabilities and in the actual nuance and what they're saying. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to build communities sufficient.
Hey, I'm back.
Ayden, I think you cut out, if I'm not mistaken.
I got a phone call and it booted me off the stream. Yeah.
Can you hear Ayden?
No.
Logan, are you there? Claude?
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, Claude, I can hear.
Okay, so Ayden just kind of dropped off his voice.
So the last I was hearing was about the
hello. Can you hear me? Test.
There he is. Hey, Ayden.
Sorry. Can I just finish the point I was making just real quick before I forget?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I cut out, so I was lost in your point. The last that I heard was you guys were talking about evidence for deep time, so that's where I dropped out.
Okay. What I was talking about was you were talking about new information. I don't believe that there is. There's a McDonald's in that Walmart, and there's also one over there. Is that I'm down the street.
Well, that's some good information right there. But anyway, I kind of wanted to touch on that, what you guys were talking about with the deep time, the evidence for that. I don't deny that everything we look at appears with age, but I believe that the Bible accounts for that. We read in 2 Peter chapter 3, in verse 7, it says, "But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men." I should have gone earlier. So, okay, no, verse 5, it says, "For this they are willingly ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, the earth standing out of the water and in the water." So what I take that to mean is that the earth was created to have the appearance of age, and much like with Jesus's parables, that was for a purpose, to confound those that aren't in tune spiritually with the message of Christ, the creation, and the spiritual realm of things. And I get that. If you don't have a spiritual faith in, biblical creation, the narrative of the Bible and everything, you're not going to be looking at it from this perspective. You're going to be looking at it from a very matter of fact, very data driven. We have these carbon datings, we have these ice cores, we have this deep space time that we can observe. But the way I see it is that's on purpose. It's supposed to be that way.
Can we welcome Mr. Logo to the stream?
Hi,
Our good
Mr.
friend.
Logo.
Bienvenidos.
Hi, Mr. Claude.
Just with
Hi,
regards
Claude.
to creating the earth with an appearance of age, I think that's where Francis Collins comes into his own, where he, of course, and he is a committed evolutionist, but he also says he's a Christian. But he says that God would be a God of deception to do that, and why would he, worship a God of deception? So, there's a counter argument to that, and that's why Francis is convinced of an old earth. He believes it's an old earth. He doesn't think his God, a Christian God, would be a God of deception. But I don't know if you've got any comments. It's good to be able to discuss these things. Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with deception?
Sorry, guys. I just had to get mugged real quick.
Oh, fun.
Did I just hear what's wrong with deception? Well,
are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm actually fine. I'm just joking.
Okay.
I mean, maybe someone can comment on that. What's wrong with deception? Well,
yeah.
Morality for a start, I suppose.
Okay, but I mean, the word morality has no meaning unless there's a standard for what that is.
Well, society comes up with that, and society says it's not okay to be deceptive. I know Mr. Hoven's deceptive, but he's, that's his thing. That's separate. But I don't think of you as being deceptive, Mark, and I don't think of most people I know as being deceptive, or if they are, they admit it and get on with it. But I just think the idea that God would be deceptive is,
well, let me ask you this. Has anybody ever asked you for money, like a panhandler? Like, you got any change?
Yes.
And you had change, you had some extra money, and you walk on saying, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything."
No, I don't.
Has that ever happened in your life? Well, that's a form of deception. If they're asking you, "Do you have any money?" and you say no, and that's deceptive.
No,
but there's a purpose for that.
I don't say no. I just ignore the person. But
I mean, personally, I have. I've said no. I don't have anything for you.
So you're saying your God does that, and it's okay? Well, it's interesting.
No, well, I mean, depending on the circumstances, right? What if you don't want to give your gift to that person? What if that gift is not for them? What if you already have that money reserved for your wife, your date night, and you want to? You don't want to just give it to some random stranger. What if that gift?
But you have unlimited money, don't you?
I just don't see what that is to do with God being a God of deception and creating the earth to make it look as though it's just like a get out of jail free card. Anyway.
Well, it's putting the cart before the horse. It's taking a look at the evidence and trying to walk it back and say, well, no, not necessarily. If you look at this way, and if you interpret this passage this way, then actually it does make sense that God would create the world with age. Well, that's never mentioned in the scripture. There's no scriptural basis for God creating the world with age. And if there is, the best example of that is making Adam and Eve adults. But even then, what is that compared to 4.5 billion years of apparent age for the Earth?
Well, of course, Adam and Eve were made as adults. They were on their first day of existence. They were walking and talking according to the creation narrative, as well as the Earth. Day one, fully mature, developed. I mean, you can't have something that's brand new and pass it off as an antique unless it has the appearance of age. And you can call that forgery, fraud, whatever you want, but God explains why he does that in scripture. We see in Matthew chapter 13 where Jesus is explaining why he speaks in parables. It's to deceive those that it's not meant for. And I think we see the exact same thing in 2 Peter 3, where he's saying, you know, they are willingly ignorant that by the word of God, the heavens were of old, which is saying it was created with apparent age. I don't see the issue with that because God is, he's a pretty selective guy. He picks and chooses who he wants. Jesus would tell people, you did not choose me, but I chose you, to his disciples. And that kind of takes it out of our hands as far as who is chosen and who is not. But it's God's right to choose.
But one of those things he abhors in other people is deception, though. One of the things he abhors in his created beings is deception. Circumstance where he endorses deception anywhere in the scripture, any circumstance. So to me, that is communicative.
Well, no, I mean, was Moses not instructed to say that his wife was his sister? Were they? There's another story where people were hidden in the walls of a city so that they couldn't be. I mean, deception. If it's for good, there can't be anything wrong with it. I mean, like.
Well, there's another one where Chris Jones was instructed by Kent Hovind to make up false accounts and attack his then wife Cindy.
Well, that
was a good example of deception too, and it's terrible.
Well, I think the fact that you're talking about specific exigent circumstances where deception is acceptable just pokes a monumental hole in the notion of objective morality.
How so?
Or objective morality, not reality. Pardon me. Objective morality
let me ask you this.
Would not be objective if it is qualifiable under exigent circumstances. If it is objective, then there's no circumstance wherein that thing can be right or that thing can be wrong if it is in fact objectively right or wrong.
Okay, so
well then, where's the delineation line?
There is no delineation to be found if something is objective. It is or it isn't if it is objective. So if it is wrong to murder, that means that there is no circumstance where murder is allowable whatsoever, if it is in fact objective. If it is subjective, then that means that it is subject to circumstance.
Murder is the unjust taking of another's life, right?
Right.
Are there
murder in that context,
justified? Yeah. Are there instances when taking another's life is justified?
Well, there's absolutely specific circumstances where taking someone's life is justified, absolutely.
So would it not also stand to reason that there are also circumstances when being deceptive is justified?
In a subjective moral system, absolutely.
So subjective to what, though? If you're going to say there's subjection, then you have to have a baseline to compare it to.
But of course we have a baseline to compare it to.
Is that
subject to our experiences and the standards wherein society has those experiences placed within.
So you're subjecting something that's on subjective terms? I mean, there's no solid baseline that you're basing your subject on. right?
The
Like,
subject
there's
that we
nothing
have,
That's
tangible
what
there.
makes it subjective.
something that is
Right.
subject, in my personal opinion. All right, subjective morality is filtered through the lens both of your personal experience as a person
Okay.
and the society or societies wherein you had those experiences. I think it is a combination of those two things. Everything found within that society, whether it be Christianity or Hinduism or atheism or anything within that, forms the basis of your personal morality of how you view the world. That does not mean,
Moral
of course,
relativism.
yeah, well, I would say that subjective morality is essentially moral relativism, but I think that the Bible is a demonstrable work of moral relativism.
Well, let me ask you
In what
this:
case?
is justice a good thing? I think we all agree that justice is a good thing, right?
Well, justice, but I mean, what are we talking about? Bastardized justice, or
No, I'm talking
I
about
mean,
righteous justice.
real
Like,
justice? Well,
you did
that's
something
hard to
wrong,
find
you
nowadays.
reap the reward,
I
right?
Righteous
I would
justice through whose context?
Okay, so Kent Hovind
right.
thinks he's justified, but he was still convicted and was, in fact, guilty of the laws he broke, right? He thought he was
Yeah.
justified. His whole spiel is that the government is evil,
hmm
but the government has a system of justice and laws that have to be followed regardless of who you are or how you feel about it. So
Correct.
to
Yeah.
to Kent,
Mark,
he would say that it's
Mark.
evil, but to
If what you're saying,
an
if
outside
what you're
objective observer is going to say, no, that's right. So it's
if
really
what
a
you're
matter of
saying is
perspective.
Of course,
if
it's a
what you're
matter of
saying is
perspective.
if what you're saying is true, then how did Bill Cosby get out of jail?
But what does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
You said that everybody's subjected to the same laws. It has everything to do with the price of tea in China. I would argue
Well,
that it is the sub base
but
for
here's
price
the
of tea
thing.
in China right now.
I'm not saying we have a perfect form of a perfect justice system. I'm not saying that at all. But we do have a reflection of what a perfect justice system should be. And I think that is what we base our standards on, is what we understand to be true justice, to be true perfection. But we can't achieve that. We try, and I believe that that's because we are made in the image of our creator. Although we are corrupted and tainted and imperfect, we still try to emulate the image that we were created in. I mean, what
Vengeance is fine, saith the mark.
Did I say that?
Kind of. You said
No.
justice, and I it's more equated in my mind to vengeance. What you're advocating for, in my opinion.
Well,
Don't
vengeance is not
follow.
always justified.
Right.
Well,
Like, somebody
but
can
real
feel like they
justice.
need to take revenge upon somebody, but if they were to actually look into it and reevaluate it through their own subjective view of reality, they might find at a later point in time that maybe it wasn't justified what they did.
And that's what would make justice vengeance. There's boundary lines. There has to be a
Right.
basis for comparison. We haven't seen an actual relegated model by which we can subject this to for a basis
Right.
of comparison. We're in la land right now. There's nothing solid
Well,
there.
No, what we're talking about, even in terms of the legal, if we're just specifically talking about the federal government of the United States justice system, then we would still have to acknowledge the fact that this is not a static form of justice, and that what is justified at this point in time would have not been justified at an earlier point in time due to different statutes and different precedents being set within the legal codes of the United States and constitutional amendments being made. None of these things are static. They're always going to change with time because the human species is not a static species.
There are some laws that remain constant. Murder is always going to be illegal. Theft is always going to be illegal. Usurpation is always going to be illegal. Usury is always going to be illegal. I mean, the list goes on. There are things
Yet
that are considered outright.
There was times in societies where I could probably find basically everything except maybe murder. I could find a society for you where that was legal and where it was acceptable.
Not against their own people. The only time in history where subjugation has become acceptable against their own people is here in the United States. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true.
How could you say that?
Well, because you wouldn't subject somebody to something that wasn't. Yeah, it's the truth. It's the truth.
What about 1930s
Most of the time,
Germany? Was that entire
because
society not subjugated
they weren't the same.
Nazism?
Those people were segregated as not being a part of the people, right?
What?
So from their perspective, if you're a Nazi German, right, okay, and you're trying to subjugate a people, the idea is to extricate them from the society in which they are being persecuted from. I mean, for crying out loud, it was the locals that caused the most damage to the Jews. The SS only killed people. The locals beat, persecuted, thrown out, tarred and feathered. I mean, the list goes on. When you're talking about the average person, right, and that morality or the idea that there's consequences go out the window, you find out who you're really dealing with.
I'm so lost on your point.
I think the original point that we were trying to touch upon was morality and objective versus subjective morality. And the case I'm trying to make is that even among Christian societies, there was a time where, if you look at the Roman Empire, slavery was an acceptable institution within that society, to the point where there really wasn't much of anybody that we have any accounts of making much of a fuss about it. No one was saying, well, we should just let all these people go free. There really wasn't much of any abolitionist movement to be found within the Roman Empire, even the Christian Roman Empire, because that was just a standard acceptable form of what society should be. The divine right of kings is another great example. That was a fundamental Christian idea, to say that I am here, I am in charge of this country because God put me in this position, he put me in this place, and I am right to be here because of that. That was a Christian idea that used to be basically universally accepted within Christian societies, that now, especially in a place like America, a republic, that has entirely gone by the wayside. No, you're not there because God said that you are. You're there because you're a tyrant and we need to remove you from power. That's the reason why, the English monarchy ended up getting overthrown briefly by Oliver Cromwell.
More in just, I mean, that was haggard, bro. What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
I'm lost, bro. What do you
the point I'm making with you is that these are fundamental ideas of these societies, these Christian societies that existed.
It wasn't Christianity that changed those fundamentals. It was the introduction of random individuals from around the world that decided to subject their own morality on the idea of Christianity. And then you take and equate the two of them together and say, oh, look at how horrible these Christians are.
Christianity is a living religion. It's not just a thing in a book. It's a living religion, right? Like your God is the God of the living and not the God of the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's absolutely a point that is valid for me to bring up, because plenty of the people that went and changed those systems were themselves Christians. Like Oliver Cromwell was a Christian, and he still ended up dethroning the English monarchy, even though they were operating on the basis that they were divinely appointed.
So if you and I start a club, right, and we set rules in this club, and we start inviting people, the rules have to change based on the number of people that we have. Would you agree?
No.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Wait, can you repeat that?
What do you mean, Mark? So if you and I start a club, right, and we start with a certain set of rules.
Yes.
And we start inviting people in the club, our rules have to change with the number of people invited, correct? What do you mean?
No, not necessarily.
What do you mean? Why?
You're presenting this as a fact, but you're not offering any explanation.
Well, no, it was a question. It was a question that I wanted a yes or no answer to. Is it yes?
Well, I'm
or
not
is
going to
it
give you
no?
that. I'm going to ask you to clarify your question.
Well, clarify. I couldn't be any more clear. I don't know how I could make it any more clear. It's as simple
I'll
as
answer
what
your
I'm
question.
asking.
No.
Okay. All right then. So.
I don't think that question deserves an absolute yes or no. I think it absolutely deserves further development. Like,
let me try to
what are the
re-explain it.
rules? Why do the rules have to change? What effect does a larger group
So
have on the
when you have a
necessity to
larger
change the
group,
rules?
you have a more, okay, so with every new individual that comes into a group, invites a new degree, can I finish? Invites a new degree of uncertainty, okay? And when you are responsible for the group and something happens, the blame falls on your shoulders. So in order to prevent these things, it would be intelligent to change the rules by which everybody has to govern their conduct so that it avoids any further mishaps that might befall upon you as being responsible.
So why can't the rules just stay the same, and the expectation is that the new members conform to those rules? Why do the rules have to conform to the members? Absolutely.
Would that work
at
Dinosaur?
If you can't conform to the laws of a nation, you're not going to be able to be in that nation free. You're going to be imprisoned. You're going to be even executed if your nonconformity reaches that extreme. No, I don't think there's any justification for forcing a rule change just because there's new group members.
But we
Unless
see
those new group
examples of
members
that.
are coming into the group by way of subjugation and taking away the freedom of the majority to speak and represent their rules the way they feel necessary.
So in other words, with the number of people that are introduced into the group, then the rules have to change then, right?
No, not necessarily. What's the purpose of the group? Why can't the people coming into the group conform to the rules?
If you want a purpose to the group, right? Well, then me and Ayden, we get together and we form a group for charity. Okay? Now say somebody comes in and starts taking the charity for themselves. We didn't have a rule against that. Should we maybe now make a rule that people can't take home the charity stuff that we're involved in bringing to people who are less unfortunate?
So why make the assumption that the rules aren't already in place to prevent fraud?
Because we didn't have a rule in place. Ayden and I just came and formed this group, and this person came in with nefarious intent. So now we have to make a rule for anybody who comes into the group after that with nefarious intent. Is that not logical? Does that not make sense?
No, you stick by your objective rules that you've created for the purpose of your group. And if new community members can't conform, they're no longer part of the community. That's the way it works.
This is actually astonishing. I've watched Dustin advocate for subjective morality. I've watched Dustin advocate for subjective morality for 20 minutes now, and I don't even know if he realizes it.
I'm not advocating for subjective morality. I'm advocating for common sense.
You're advocating for rules in a group changing due to different circumstances. That is subjective.
Yeah.
Subjective to the adding of new people, correct? But the core of the concept is still in play, correct?
The core of the concept?
Rules don't change.
Well, you're a lawyer, for crying out loud. You should be on my side with this one.
Rules in my life.
Rules end up changing with given circumstances, but rules are not the subject base matter for which we have our morality. It's just not. That's why.
Right, but you're saying that it's subject to change under circumstance. Like, Dustin, this is what I'm trying to hammer home to you, is the fact that if you advocate for a subjective moral system, the moment you begin advocating for that is the moment that you admit that something is subject to change under literally any. It doesn't matter if it's a number of people. It doesn't matter if it's a shift in environment. It doesn't matter if a proton flipped just 2 seconds ago. If it's subject to change, then it is subjective.
Wait. I don't think you understand what I'm arguing for. I really don't.
I don't think anybody does.
Now you're saddling me with a straw man argument. What my argument is that you guys are out in la land, right? Pretending that this subjection upon subjection builds upon something other than an argument from turtles all the way down. There's nothing based on the solid set of your morality subject to these rules. That's not how morality is designed. That's not how it even manifests in the human mind. we see examples of it in nature all the time. Like, for example, a mouse that witnesses another mouse that's caught, and the one mouse tries to help the other mouse out. There's no logical reason for these two things to happen.
Okay, sure there is.
Communication, well, not with higher reasoning, not like you and I would understand it.
That rat is incentivized to help that other rat because it's a member of its social group, or it feels empathy towards that other rat. Like we've observed empathy to be found within rats, where if you have one rat that's trapped and they don't even get a reward in exchange for freeing that rat, they'll still do it. And as a matter of fact, they'll even save a bit of food for that rat almost all of the time. So I don't necessarily think that's an example of being illogical. I think that's an example of a social incentive where this rat realizes, well, this rat is like me. It's a rat. I wouldn't like to be trapped there in that circumstance, so I should probably free it so that if I ever get trapped there, it'll help me out. That's what empathy is.
You really think that a rat has the cognitive capacity to understand reciprocation in that form? Are you claiming?
I absolutely do.
I would question that on many different levels, because on the other end of the equation, you find rats that will eat each other, or come into other rats' nests and eat the babies. So what do you mean? In what case? I mean, for that argument in and of itself, right? You could say that it was just subject to the
respected journals that publish papers about these exact findings.
About what
I would
findings?
say it's subjective.
Can you be more specific?
I would say it's subjective to
I
the
don't know which
circumstance.
paper it's published in. I have to go look it up.
Well, I would appreciate it if you did.
Brianna's in Discovery right now. I'm the lawyer. She's my assistant. She's doing Discovery right now for us. It's very good.
The proper term is paralegal.
Paralegal. I know. I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. Couldn't think of it. I mean, if anything, she's the actual lawyer and I'm the paralegal for Pete's sake.
That would have made a lot more sense. I know that about your old lady. She's, yeah. Anyway.
She's got a noggin on that one.
I was watching the other day, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think this is an older video, but he was explaining why he can't believe in God, and he uses a total straw man argument in his explanation. He's saying that if there is an all-benevolent God, why is there evil in the world? Well, who's to say that God's all-benevolent? God's a God of wrath, of justice, as well as mercy and grace. He loves his justice just as much as he loves his mercy and grace. Now, we happen to be the vessels by which he demonstrates his characteristics of justice, mercy, grace, love, etc. Any characteristic that we have, God has that in perfection. And,
right, but wouldn't you say the Garden of... I'm sorry, go ahead.
That ties back into us being created in the image of God. We're a reflection of that perfect ideal of morality. We're a reflection of that perfect justice system, but we're flawed. Our reflective surface is marred. You're never going to get that perfect image as a reflection of the Creator when you've been corrupted. And that's exactly what the Bible says happened at the fall, that man was corrupted, they were cursed, and they are now forced to live by the toil of their hands in the land. And I think that is perfectly rational in a fallen world, that there is evil and that there is injustice, because we're the ones that broke that ultimate trust with God. We're the ones that transgressed his simple commandment, don't eat the fruit.
And right, but where is it implicit in that, though? Where is it implicit in that agreement, though, that this horrible, like literally the most horrible, drastically evil entity that has ever existed of all time, I'm just going to give him the keys to this kingdom and let him be in charge of all of this for a while now? That wasn't exactly part of the agreement.
Well, we even see in Corinthians where examples like this, there was a man in the church that was sleeping with his father's wife, and they turned him over to the devil for the destruction of the flesh. Now, is that unjust? Is that unjust? Is that wrong? No, because the rules of the group remain the change despite newcomers' ideas and understandings of the moral standards. It's not the rules that change, it's the person who breaks the rules that has to undergo the consequences.
Is a change a result of a difference?
That could you develop?
Yes or no? Is a change a result of a difference? Yes or no? If there is something there that wasn't there before, is that not a change? What are you talking about?
I would ask you the same question. What are you talking about?
You said the rules don't change if you're at it. Your argument doesn't make sense. If something is new,
let's go back to the Garden of Eden. The only thing that was introduced new in that circumstance was disobedience, because the rule was already in place. Do not eat the tree. The consequence was already explained. For in that day you shall surely die. The rule didn't change. The rule was enforced.
Several of the papers published about rat empathy. Empathy and pro-social behavior in rats, published in Science 2011. Does a rat free a trapped rat due to empathy or for sociality? Published in the Journal of Experimental Analysis of Behavior.
What was the result of that paper? Was there a conclusion that the rat had the cognitive capacity to understand reciprocity? I don't think you're going to find that.
Hi, Brianna.
Hey.
How are you?
She's got the serious scowl on right now because she's going through this.
I actually can't view this article because I don't have access to it.
You see them scientists, they just trying to make sure you gotta pay your way to get through. Gotta pay your way.
It's all Mark's
fault. All right, so for society to have advanced, that would imply that they were at one point less advanced. Now, that advancement, is it a result of new members to the society, or is it a result of the confirmation of that society's implicit morality?
I mean, advancement is subjective, right? So, I mean, in particular,
it has to be
you
objective.
would
have to have an objective standard,
a baseline, right?
Which to claim, a baseline by which to claim that you were less advanced at one point and became more advanced at another. Yeah, that would that would demand an objective, measurable standard.
Well, until you have provided an objective, measurable standard, it's still subjective.
Subjective.
How do we know? How do we know that? How do we know that our technology today is a result of our advancement and not maybe a sign of a regression because we use devices to remember things we should keep in our mind?
Ooh, can't believe that before the flood, people were building spaceships, I guess.
Thanks.
Well, Kent also believes that Jesus turned water into grape juice.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I can do that. I can go buy a can of concentrate and pour it in a jug of water, and I got grape juice. But the miracle in that is that the wine, the fermentation process took place instantaneously. That's the miracle, not the fact that water was turned into something else. It's the fact that the known scientific means for fermentation were superseded by miraculous means. And that's what makes it a miracle.
So Christian is posing something in the chat here. He said, can something be transjective or like non-jective? Or can an objective truth identify as subjective? Or would the subjectivity of that measuring stick be too vague? Thank you, Christian. Very insightful. Very helpful for the conversation. I really... Could you just smash your keyboard before you type your next message? Like, could you just hit it with a hammer once or twice and then type out your next message, Christian?
Define transjective. What is that?
Objective.
I think he's making a joke.
I hope so. I hope that's not a word.
My morality identifies as an attack helicopter.
Yeah.
No, what you're talking about though, Mark, as far as an objective measure of whether something has gotten better or not, I would say that the only way that could be objective would be if that one society was the only one being measured in a vacuum. Because if you look at like somebody like Hernan Cortez, yeah, he became an extremely wealthy man. He became quite prosperous on an objective level as far as how much wealth he had access to. But by that exact same metric, if you look at it beyond just, the Spanish and their society, the Aztecs consequently plummeted in terms of their prosperity and their access to resources and their standard of living. So I don't necessarily think that you could just look at something getting better. The only way that you could look at that and say, well, it's objectively improving, so to speak, is if you just look at that one in a vacuum and don't look at the consequences thereof.
So if selective pressure is what the mechanism that would allow for an organism to provide another organism that's better equipped to live in an environment, is that subjectively or objectively better?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So an organism that's living in an environment that has the ability to produce offspring based on selective pressure, that's better able to survive in a certain environment. Is that subjective or objective progression?
As far as its capacity to be able to survive in that environment, I would say that that's progression only in the sense that it gives them a higher chance to propagate their genes, because no, it's not objective.
Subjective or objective? Okay.
No,
all right.
it's not.
So
no,
it's not
let me
objective, it's
explain. Well, let me
subjective.
explain.
Okay.
Please let me explain. You
No,
could
I'm
have
listening.
certain individuals who benefit from those selective pressures. They could benefit from that, and yes, their likelihood of carrying on their genes and propagating that particular genome is increased, but that's not a guarantee. It's not guaranteed to propagate it just because it has had benefited from that selective pressure.
Why did you step outside of the example?
That's not stepping outside of the example at all.
Well, no, because the question was tailored to an example. It was a specific question to subjective or objective. The information you are offering to the question now is irrelevant to the answer.
It is subjective.
Okay, thank you. That was the answer I was looking for.
I mean that it was. I was trying to explain though why it was subjective. I'm sorry if I didn't just say the words it was subjective, but it is subjective because of the circumstantial change that is brought about by that being the case. That's
okay.
That's the TLDR.
Now I understand what's going on here. Okay, that makes more sense now. Okay. Yeah, no, you were just confusing the dog piss out of me right now. I was trying to figure out.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is it starting to make sense? I'm glad. Okay.
Yeah, no, the parts are starting to tie together now that you. Okay, so because like everything you were explaining was subjective, and I thought you meant objective.
No, it was subjective.
Yeah, no, I was confused. Okay, well, but then like, so if that's the answer, then, and aside from, because your answer doesn't really. I mean, if it's subjective, then what is the ultimate baseline that we're going by? Because you would have to agree, animals that went extinct, to some subjective degree between you and I, would have an objective disadvantage that would point to a progression where another animal in that environment could survive. Right? So subjectively or objectively, the reality is that we need to get to the baseline where we're comparing all these things from, correct?
Yeah, like, I do think that there are things that are objectively true, but I don't think that they're morally objectively true. Like, I think that if you take a fish out of water and you keep it out of water for 10 minutes straight, that fish is objectively going to suffocate. And if you take a person and you put them in water without any breathing apparatus for 10 minutes straight, they're going to drown. That is objectively true. No, that does not mean that it's morally true.
Look up the world record for breath holding. I think it's somewhere like 13 minutes.
I knew he was
you know
go
what?
there.
You know
I
what?
knew he was gonna go
You know
there.
what I mean. You know
No,
what
no,
I mean,
I
Mark.
get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying.
Actually, Ayden. Yeah, all right,
Mhm.
all right. I'm sorry,
Hey,
comic book guy.
I can hold my breath for like 30 seconds.
What about you, Mr. Logo? How long can you hold your breath?
Yeah, let's find out. I like Mr. Logo. He doesn't show up all that often, but I like Mr. Logo. He was like one of
What?
my original subscribers.
Why doesn't Mr. Logo have a logo?
I don't know. Are you there, Mr. Logo? Oh no, he disappeared.
If you are speaking, we can't hear you, unfortunately.
Yeah, go into your settings and make sure you've got the right microphone selected and that it's
It
from your
always
device.
messes up for me as well. It
Sorry
always
about
defaults to my headphones, even though I have a dedicated mic.
Sorry about that, Mark. But at least it works on here. Like
Oh, yeah.
Tyler.
Now that's an interesting statement. Can you pull that up from Christian Pike?
The bottom one?
The latest one that he
Yeah,
typed.
the latest one. That's interesting.
Yeah, put that up, Logan.
Which one's
No,
it?
it's the second to the top of the chat.
I mean, we're gonna go down the Schrodinger cat argument, but
Is that it?
There's a sort of superstition of tangible reality was the one he was talking about.
Oh, there it is. Is that it?
Yeah, you're
no,
definitely right, Dustin. You definitely preluded where this is gonna go. You've looked down the path and you see the end. I kind of can't disagree with you where we're standing right now. Like I take a very simple approach to this, even though I'm sure there is a much more complex answer available there. I just take the I think therefore I am approach to that. All right. Like I am right now experiencing this reality. Does that mean it's certain that I'm not in a dream or that I'm not in the Matrix or that I'm not in a coma or any one of those things? No, it's not. But I still experience it for what it is.
See, but there's an issue there, Ayden, because if everything is based on experience, then we don't have any room for math. Math quantifies things and brings them down to a provable level where there is an absolute subjective line to go from. There are no turtles going all the way down. Eventually, we're going to hit bedrock because of math, right?
Well, math isn't the basis of establishing proofs. I understand that, but I don't think that math takes a position on morality in any way, shape, or form, and that's the crux of what I'm talking about in relation to subjectivity. Like, I was talking to you earlier about objective truths, and I think the proofs of mathematics are among that category of objective truths, so to say. Like, the rate of gravitational acceleration on this planet is going to mathematically be the same no matter where you are, no matter what you do, no matter what massive object you're dealing with. It's going to accelerate to the ground at exactly the same rate. That's an objective truth, but I don't think there's a moral position to be had within that.
Well, that's still subjective to your position on the Earth. If you're,
actually, there
30,000
are
feet up, your rate of acceleration is going to be different the closer you get. It's going to compound. Because
there are
force it's what is it? The inverse square law. The
yes,
double the distance and it's 4 times the force.
But then there's also another issue though, is that gravity is not uniform. It's not. You can look this up on Google right now. Go ahead and challenge me on it. It's not.
No, you're right. No, you're right. No, you're actually correct about that. But that's because of the mass of the Earth is not perfectly uniform. That's why it's not uniform on Earth, Dustin, because the Earth isn't a perfect sphere. There's some parts of the Earth that bulge out compared to others. There's some that are depressed. Like, it's not a perfect sphere. Actually, a cue ball would be like our common machine cue ball would be a far more basis of comparison. But that's kind of the point I'm getting at, is that's why gravity isn't uniform. Keep going, Mark. I'm sorry.
Well, let's just assume that the rate of acceleration is measured at sea level. It is absolutely objectively a number that can be measured, tested, predicted repeatedly. But even in saying that, it's still subject to the position that you're at. And if you're outside of that, sea level environment, the change is going to be subjective to that position,
Well,
but it's
right,
still
because you
objective to the laws of mathematics, because we do have the inverse square law that accounts for that. So math is objective. How we
Well,
use
but
it can
math
be
has a
subjective.
problem, though. Math has a problem. Math does well in proofs, but it lacks in definition. We can describe gravity all day long with math, but we can't define it with math.
But it's not in the business of that, though. It really is. Like, that's
Right?
not what math is.
That's correct, actually. But that's why we keep running into this issue.
Dustin.
It's prescriptive, not descriptive of reality.
Dustin,
Right. Yes.
Did you want
Gangster?
So, you wanted Brother Pike's newest words, or
Orange chicken, fried rice, crab ragoon, and eggs. What? No, I don't want to see his shopping list. Oh, Dunjective equals me trying to comprehend this.
Christian, I can't believe you're not joining right now, buddy. You could be here. You could
He's
be
clearly
among
eating
such good
dinner.
company. Nah,
He's
I don't
clearly
care.
eating dinner.
I don't care that. I don't care if he strings his point together in between bites of what he's eating. You get on here. You get right on here, boy.
Yeah, it's not like he has a
What's
family
the
to
opposite
be
of
with.
get you gone? What's the Mark, you were a southerner at one point. What's the opposite of get you gone, boy?
Get in here,
Opposite
son.
of get you gone. You mean get on out of here?
Get on out here, boy. Yeah. Yeah, what's the opposite?
I come in. I don't know.
Wow.
Giddy up, doggy. Wow. Dinner time.
Giddy
Y'all
up
come
on
back
over here,
now,
Christian.
you hear? How about that? Y'all come back now, you hear?
No, that's pretty southern. Is it the Mr. Logo?
Is there
We'll leave
Mr.
the lights
Local?
on for you.
Hello. Is there anybody out there?
Do we have any flat earthers?
Why? What is going on here?
No,
Just not if you can hear me.
Oh, who's this guy?
Does
Lion?
Ayden do drugs?
Oh, you don't even have to ask that. You already know.
I wasn't asking for my point of view. I was asking for the crowd. What's up there,
speaking
Christian?
of the reason why I do drugs. Hey, Christian, how's it going?
I thought you were just speaking of the reason for the season. So I want you guys to see what you're up to.
Oh,
do you see this?
That's a bounty that you have before you.
Whatever the answer is to your question, it's not giddy up anything. I can promise you.
Christian, you're going at like 2 frames a second right now. Is anyone else seeing Christian's like?
That's the Holy Spirit, man. It's got him covered, and the camera can't penetrate.
Correct.
It's that wonderfully powerful public Wi-Fi that he's connected to.
You think I'm on Wi-Fi?
It's that Chinese restaurant Wi-Fi.
He thinks I'm on Wi-Fi.
Ayden, what is your profile image of? What is that? A can of melange? What?
In Dune, it's the spice is called melange, so it's a spice. It's a spice thing with melange.
Oh, so it's like a nerd thing.
So you're
right?
spicy today.
Yeah, I'm like you, Christian, you Tolkien geek, whatever.
It's like a loser thing.
Oh, mine's different though because it's about the Hobbit people, so it's different.
Better watch out.
I've never seen a short person in my life. So original of J.R.R. Tolkien to go, wow, short people exist. Oh, so insightful. Wow.
This is the best orange chicken.
What is piketivity?
Is he
freaking Claude balls down there? What's going on? This dude. Why is he in here?
Yeah.
That's why I see the world the way that I do.
Dr. Tomo Arigato, Dr. Ribato.
He
Sounds like an
disappeared.
Undertale character speaking.
Ayden.
Tomo.
Mark.
Yes, hello.
Guess what? Claude told me that on the show, the Proverb Guy show, they thanked me for taking away the atheist.
Oh, right. I'm sure that they're absolutely thrilled at getting like 30 views a stream and Logan routinely actually cleaning up on more views than them, even though his channel's like 1/10 the size of their. I'm sure they love that. They look at those numbers and they're like, yeah, that's really reflective of a job well done. Holy Spirit's really blessing these live streams.
You know, Ayden, you are my friend, but there are times like I cringe at the idea that we're friends because of the way that you bash people, man. Like, I don't know why you gotta go so personal.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm feigning ignorance there. I'll just say that. I'm 100% feigning ignorance. Look, all right? I'm not I'm not going to curtail how I feel about that just because you're around. I'm sorry. I am who I am, and you mentioned earlier at least I care about what my friends think of me. I absolutely do care about what my friends think of me. I care about what you think of me, Dustin. I have respect for you, and I know that you reciprocate that respect. And I don't see how I could have respect for you if I just was that way.
There are very few people in this world that I can say I have respect for, and you're on that list. Because of the arguments and the positions that you take, I think they're very well thought out. I see, like, I don't want to say I see myself in you, but I definitely see a couple of the pitfalls that you're going to run into because I ran into them, and I'm a little bit older than you. I think your thinking is going to change, and I know how it could have gone bad for me. I don't want to see it go bad for you.
Outcast and Crybaby's here.
Creationist, Crybaby, and even an Outcast. Hello. We got a full room.
How is everyone?
We're good. See, Logan was talking about how Proverbs guys was saying all the atheists came over here, but we've got good, uprighteous people like Creationist Crybaby among us tonight, and I just want to say that's indicative of. Go ahead.
I like Stephen Bolin. I like the cut of his jib.
You like to what?
I like the cut of his jib.
I'll tell you what you got to do there, Creationist Crybaby. You got to go in there. You got to sit down. You got to look Stephen Bolin in the eye, and you got to say, put a channel on Proverbs Guy for me. He'd be awfully evil if he didn't do it.
Crybaby's Corner.
That better be on there. We will all riot, all 6 of us, if he does not put that show on his channel.
At least there's no God-hating atheists on that channel.
That's
it's good now. They've taken out the trash. The trash has taken itself out, and here we all are chilling in the dumpster.
Yep.
You think a pine tree came from an amoeba?
Right. As opposed to you, who think that you came from a lump of clay.
Dust. Okay, dust.
Thank you.
Clay.
Thank you. Even I knew that one.
Mm-hmm.
But are we not made of the same building blocks?
In the Hebrew, it's translated as clay, I believe.
But are we speaking Hebrew?
No.
No.
I'm not. Look, I can't claim. Look, okay. I'm not gonna. Only my old Jewish woman character is fluent in Hebrew, and she's not around right now. She's at synagogue right now.
She's mildly racist too, so yeah.
Oh, she is not. She's a very respectful woman.
She's a very upright member of society. She contributes more to charity than anybody else in her neighborhood, and you're gonna call her racist?
Yeah. I mean, she never
Wow.
gives me anything. She's not kreplach. Nothing.
Well, if you go and speak to her at the next chutzpah, then I'm sure that you would be able to make amends and that you would be able to add her to your sewing circle that you no doubt go to on a weekly basis.
Of course I do. I sew. I finger knit my navel dust. My.
You know what
your navel.
You know what I heard about? You know what?
What?
You know what I heard? You know what I heard about Sweden? All they listen to is death metal, and they burn down churches.
That's Norway, and don't speak ill about our little brother.
You got an answer to that?
You call him your little brother, but Denmark is your real daddy, Sweden. You know it. You know it deep down.
I just want to know when Sweden is going to tap into their massive reserves of rare earth metals so they can stop depending on China.
Okay, we are a nation of iron. Iron ore. And wood.
And
granite. Granite.
Oh, and uranium. Oh, and
rare earth
and platinum and diamonds.
Dig, baby, dig.
We don't want to do those things here because they are very dangerous, you see. So we prefer those things to happen in China.
While you guys just rape your environment over there like we done be raping our environment over here, huh? I mean, like we're crapping in our backyard. Why don't you take a crap in your backyard too? You're just importing all the products from their yard rather than taking all the crap. That's nonsense. That's hippy dippy communism, if you ask me.
Hell yeah! Gulag, gulag, gulag.
The world's ending soon. You might as well take advantage of everything you can get.
Exactly. Standing tomorrow anyway. Who needs this? You think Jesus is going to be like? You think Jesus? Let me just. Who's got that playing in the background? Someone's playing something. Logan.
Oh, I just
What
want
in
to
blazes is going on here?
Dustin.
Claude sent me this. Achilles thanked me for starting the show around same time as Stump to take all the ACs away, I guess.
Say what?
Yeah.
Oh, good job there.
Because I'm.
What do you think of that?
Well, he's not taking.
Well, he's called you an atheist before. He's unironically called you an atheist before. That's what I find hilarious.
Well, he says that
I don't ever remember
Satan
that
because he's my father. Weird.
Oh, I've got the evidence preserved. Don't worry, Dustin. I've got. He messaged me about it when we were talking about who were the atheists banned from his channel, and I asked him to name names. Mark was actually the first name that he said, I think.
What?
Oh.
Well, that's okay. I'm gonna have a conversation with him about that.
Don't do that. If you want to be friends with him, don't do that.
Oh, I mean, something doesn't add up there.
Something doesn't add up with Steven. Stop the fucking presses.
No.
Hey, I'm not saying you're not the one that's saying anything there, Dustin. That's what you need to understand is that I'm the one that just said that. That's not you. That's my position on Stephen Boland. That's not your position. The views of Ayden Linda do not necessarily reflect the views of Dustin Buck.
Oh, thank you for the disclaimer. That actually makes me feel better. I do. I feel like I'm covered now. And now I can play that to it.
Good. Yeah, I should just put that on a soundboard. That way, at the beginning of every talk with Dustin, I can just play that at the very beginning, and we could just put off all the airs and just have a good talk. You know.
Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll picture frame it, laminate it, and send it to everybody. No, because like in all honesty, like it would be really hard for me to deny, right? Because in all honesty, we think alike, man. Like I would be lying if I said that somewhere in the back of my mind I haven't come to that conclusion, but I know better now based on other things.
Hey, I would never tell you not to be his friend. If you want to be his friend, I've never said, make sure you distance yourself from that Steven guy. It's not our side of the community that's telling you to, or telling other people like Lupin, oh my gosh, why is Claude on your channel? Why is he sitting there in your chat? He has nothing to offer. It's not our side of the fence that's pushing that kind of narrative.
No one ever has an obligation to defend what someone else says or does. You never have to defend what Steven or
so there's
any
no
of them
attorneys?
say. I mean, we don't have that many attorneys that I know of here. I can become one.
There's 7 people in all of Sweden, and I'm pretty sure one of them is an attorney, so that's quite a high percentage of your total population. Come on now.
Yeah, but they are not here, I think.
Oh, they went abroad? You got the brain drain? That's unfortunate.
I'd like to point out that here in my apartment, there are at least maybe somewhere between 8 and 15 people.
Of what?
8 and 15 lawyers. A country of nothing but
law?
attorneys.
No, in my head.
That's what happens when you're a communist.
It's true. You did them psilocybin mushrooms, didn't you? And then you saw the demons. They came to you and they gave you offerings.
I didn't. I met the guardian, the watchman, and I went to the land of the dead.
Oh, you had that ayahuasca, huh?
No.
Tell us about it.
Hey, folks, I gotta bounce. I gotta take my daughter to the orthodontist in a little bit. So,
oh, boo!
Be
Drive
a terrible
safe.
father and take care of stuff.
Boo! Mark's an attentive father that actually cares about his children. Boo!
Hey, don't you
Good to see
ruining
you.
my reputation like that, Ayden.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for coming on, Mark.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Logan. You guys
You're
have a
always
great
welcome.
day.
Mark, you're the best.
Ayden.
No, but thanks.
Hold on,
Ayden.
Brianna would like to talk more about the rat thing, she says. Brianna, you have the floor.
First of all, the question you're asking is a stupid question in regards to the papers that I'm talking about. Do rats understand reciprocity? Not only is that a question that hasn't been answered by science,
right, that's why I asked it.
It's also not what this paper is talking about, because this paper is not talking about reciprocal behavior. It's talking about altruistic behavior, which is an entirely different relationship dynamic. So you're asking a stupid question for the papers that I'm discussing.
No, the question wasn't stupid.
The altruism is a more impressive thing than whether or not they understand reciprocal behavior. Because it's easy to do something when you get something back in return.
You're missing my point.
It's very hard to do a thing when you are receiving nothing in return and it is actively costing you in the terms of food, which is the thing that rats care about in this case, to help another rat. And especially to help another rat who has no relation to you. Because we do know in science that there is a definitive equation about how relationships work and how behavior works in accordance with how closely related to who someone you are. The cost to me has to be less than the benefit to you times our relationship.
So ultimately, the behavior in question is
do something for you.
So ultimately, the behavior in question is a result of a subjective narrative that you are trying to project right now, because it couldn't be objective, because it doesn't understand. Well, the facts that are independent of the question that was in play at the point from which I was trying to make this point. Right? It was
the facts that were being discussed.
No, because the bigger picture wasn't about the rat. The bigger picture,
whether or not rats have philosophy and morals and ethics. I don't know if there are
I'm talking
rats
about
out there studying Aristotle or not.
Aristotle.
I mean, you could try and shoehorn me into that argument, but that's not the basis of my argument. We were talking about subjective versus objective, and it was a basis of comparison versus human actions. Whether or not a person can have genuine reciprocity or act out of altruistic motives is not very well represented in the rat community, right? Which is what we base a lot of our experiments for cognitive recognition, and how a lot of our research into Alzheimer's comes from. So there's definitely a relation there, but the rat doesn't go as
enter this conversation, because that has nothing to do.
I was using it.
Rats.
I was using it. I was using the Alzheimer's as a method to tie the two concepts together, that we use baser animals to explain certain actions that are exhibited in the human species. We even use rats to test for our genetic diseases, right? So there's definitely a link there.
Problem.
What?
That's a different moral dilemma.
Well, I don't think you listened. I don't think you were. I don't think you were listening. I don't think you were listening to my premise. I really don't. Right? Like, there was a reason that I pointed in that direction. I know science hasn't answered that question, and the reason that it hasn't answered that question is because it's subjective and not objective, which means the rat is missing a key component.
Because there's no way to test it.
Okay. I mean, we come up with conclusive evidence for things that are untestable all the time.
Morality of a rat.
We come up with conclusive evidence of things that are untestable all the time. It happens all the time.
Is there an example of that you could name?
Let's see. The dark spots on the sun. We make conclusive leaps of deduction about the dark spots on the sun all the time, but we don't have an actual model that can replicate it, let alone provide a satisfactory explanation for why we have these deep dark spots that sometimes appear on the sun. We know that the sun goes through extreme levels of activity and then complete levels of dormancy, but we can't literally explain it, but we come up with these astronomical explanations for the nuclear reactions that are happening in the center of the sun. We don't have a basis. But we don't really have, you can speculate all you want. We have these spectrographs that show that light comes in different flavors that represent the elements that are deep inside of the star, right? But again, even still, we're still using speculation to make those deductions.
I think your point that we have no idea what they are isn't necessarily true. The Parker Solar Probe did a pretty good job of demonstrating that our original hypotheses about them being cooler parts of the sun of relative inactivity, which is why we see them change on a constant basis, those sunspots. They're not consistent. They're kind of like the storms that you see on a planet like Jupiter, in that none of them are static and unchanging. They're all dynamic. But they're dynamic for a different reason. At least hypothetically, they're dynamic for a different reason. And it's because the nuclear reactions that are taking place in the sun's core are not necessarily even in their energetic distribution. So
all
that's
subjective.
why.
All subjective. All subjective conclusion.
It's subject. Well, no, but we can observe effects of the sun. Like you're talking about, you were just talking about times where you'll have like mass coronal ejections. Like the Carrington event in the mid 1800s is a great example of a mass coronal ejection that would have totally wiped out our electrical grid had it existed anywhere near the capacity that it is now. It just wiped out a couple telegraph lines. But that's an example of a mass coronal ejection. You wouldn't see ebbs and flows in solar activity if nuclear fusion was completely evenly distributed at all times. That just would not happen. There would be no cause for there to be flare-ups in solar activity followed by lulls in it if it was just completely even.
I had a mass coronal ejection last night.
That does not sound PG rated.
I'm so glad you said that because I couldn't.
I felt a lot better.
Oh, that's good. Claude, what do you think?
Is Claude on?
Yeah, are you there, Claude?
Mr. Buzz, hello. Are you there? Perhaps he is busy having a mass coronal ejection of his own. Oh, there he is. He is not having a mass coronal ejection.
I was just in the counting house counting out the money, but there was none there.
Well, that was so funny. They actually thanked me on there.
So, I've been counting out the views, and Ghost is doing so well. It is so funny to watch the Proverbs guys channels and see them not getting many views and Ghost getting a lot. It's good. Does that feel mean?
I don't think it's mean because they talked about how they were apparently blessed by getting a bunch of views on their channel. So they use views as a metric of blood, which is why I brought that up earlier, by the way, Dustin. You said that it was just to be cruel, but I did that because I observed somebody use that as a yardstick of how blessed somebody is. So I find it amusing that very yardstick now has been turned against them.
Video views total 20,581 for Gangster Ghost.
Whoa. For what, in one host. That's all he has is the one host.
Good job. Good job.
Yes, I think brilliant.
Thank you.
It's quite funny because on that same link that I sent to him where they talk about him, they're saying, why don't the atheists come on? And you're thinking, but wait a minute, we're banned from the channel. How can we come on? And then Stephen says, I'm going to open up to all atheists for the next 15 minutes, but there'll be too chicken to come on. What?
Like we're just sitting there watching them 24/7.
It's just such a contradiction. And then they say, as Achilles decides that that Big Bad Mama is related to creationist crybaby, but he's not going to ban you because you're polite.
We have a business relationship.
Yeah, crybaby is polite.
Yeah, that's true. Crybaby has been nothing but cordial over this entire conversation.
Well, he called me a communist, but still.
Well, he called you a God-hating communist specifically.
I didn't
but
mean
that was
anything
nothing that
against
wasn't
you
already
personally.
true.
Nice. That's kind of nice.
It's just so funny. I love it. I have to just. I will be back in 5 minutes. I just mute myself. Okay.
Once I get my show, I won't channel ban anybody.
Well, I think you have to channel ban some people in order to be part of that show. So
I've banned nobody either, but they're all too chicken. It's quite funny. The only brave person probably potentially would be Dustin, but the others, they don't speak their minds. So there you go.
Have you ever gone on Claude's show, Dustin?
I
can't remember.
Might consider it. I haven't yet, but I might consider it. He hasn't made a song about me in a while.
Oh, is that the metric?
Oh, well, no. There's a lot of metrics, as you say. But I don't know. He's shown me a few redeeming qualities. I can't imagine a man is. Look, I don't want to see anybody perish in the fire.
That's nice.
We have our differences, and in some respect, we both have good intentions towards each other. We just can't see past either one of our own incompetence.
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you something, Dustin. So, it's been estimated that over the entirety of human history, there's been about 100 billion human beings that have existed at one point or another, that have lived and died, and that we're really, like, out of the totality of everybody, just kind of like maybe 1/10 of all the people that have ever lived. How many, even just of that 1/10 of those people, do you think have songs written about them? You're in a pretty
Probably quite a
exclusive
few.
club, my friend. You're in a pretty exclusive club.
One of those people happened to be Kent Hovind, and I know how all of you feel about that individual. So I mean,
Yeah,
is that necessarily a good thing?
That's a good point.
I mean, no, I don't.
Argument.
I actually disagree with that. You know why I disagree with that? Because even if I was like, and once again, this is just my personal viewpoint, but if I was Kent Hovind or Brett Keane or one of those people, and I knew that there was songs made about me out there, even if they were derogatory, I would still take a note of pleasure about that, because at least somebody,
yes.
at least there was somebody out there that cared so much about what I had to say or about what I did that they decided they were going to make a whole song about me and everything I've done, my exploits and all that, like whatever it might be.
I promise you, Kent gets a hard on every time he thinks about it.
Oh my goodness. Please don't ever put that image in my mind again, Deviant. Please. Please.
You're welcome.
Deviant.
I'd really rather that just be, I'd rather that be outcast from my mind for the rest of my life, honestly. But I don't know. I find the whole affair of, I find the whole affair of, like, they're talking on that other channel when Logan was making a bunch of videos of them. Oh, it's an attack. It's a tax. It's a tax. It's a tax. Well, I don't think they honestly think that. I really don't. I think that they know and recognize the difference between somebody actively trying to, like, denigrate somebody's character and trying to make somebody look bad, and somebody just simply trying to poke fun innocently at somebody.
Yeah, sure, one would hope so, but then you have to ask why.
And
why?
Well, it's sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, why repeat it? Why? It's not like they are taking it up with him or with. They are in their little in group discussing it, and everyone is. I don't.
So what you're saying is, I'm confused. What's the complaint?
No. Ayden said that he thinks they when Logan had made some videos and they
Logan put out some shorts and they labeled them as attack videos. Achilles especially was labeling them as attack videos.
And Ayden said that he believes that somewhere that they deep inside don't actually think they are, that they can differentiate between
I have evidence
real
for that.
attacks and this kind of attack. But that maybe that's true, but I think when you sit a group of people and evidence agree on a certain point like that, it turns into reality.
An echo chamber.
Yeah, an echo chamber that creates their perceived reality. I can't see, or maybe it's just my lack of imagination, because I can't see myself sitting with you or with anyone, any group of people, and be like, oh yeah, that's really an attack, and no one in the group thinks that it is.
They wouldn't invite him on all the time and try to have him on the show. And not only that, the best evidence I feel like they know at some level that it's not an attack, is the fact that Steven has said on multiple occasions that he doesn't mind his videos. He's actually said that he found his videos funny on a few occasions. Oh, boom, Logan, ha ha ha! They were trying to he was trying to poke fun of it with him on one occasion, and then all of a sudden, it's a big issue. It's an attack. It's something that's horrible.
I tried to lasso down on that. I made a code of conduct. Okay, right? I tried to lasso down on that, but I don't know what it is. One of the guys over there is okay with something, but then somebody gets offended about something, and then all of a sudden everybody's got to make it taboo. And like it's that kind of action is just, I don't understand.
They all feel like they need to be in lockstep about everything.
It's very tribal.
Well, no, and that's the thing too, is that they're not, and sometimes they get their messages crossed, right? And like it's one of the main issues I had with Stump was because he'll set a boundary real quick and be the first one to step across it. Right? And I'm like, bro, like
hypocrisy much?
Well, I mean, I've made that accusation right to him. Like, what are you thinking? Like,
yeah.
I was accused. I had a certain course of action I wanted to take, and you decided not to back me. Then you turn around and you make a response video, and I take issue with your action, and then you start attacking me. Right? Like like I broke the rule. I didn't break the rule. You set the rule. I obeyed the rule. Then you turned around and pretended like the rule didn't exist.
Well, I feel like a great example of what you're talking about was the fact that when Christian got shafted, I'm sorry, there's no better way of putting it. When he got shafted by that group of people, he really
explain it in more graphical terms.
What do you mean?
When he got brutally shafted in a horrifically betrayed manner by
pile drive from the third line.
Sure,
right?
You know what? Either one of those.
Style.
I don't care. It's the term that came to my mind. All right, I'm a poet and a scholar, Dustin, and that's what my poetic mind came up with. All right. When Christian got body slammed off the third rope by a certain what's his pseudonym I could give for him? Lumpin' the
Spaniard. No, give him give him the Hispanic Spaniard.
Lumpin' the Lurth is his pseudonym. I don't know if you could figure out who that is, but Lumpin' the Lurth decided that they were going to exclude Christian and say that he's a false believer and that he's a false brother and say this, that, and the other thing about him. And then Achilles goes and verifies that what he's saying isn't true and that he's not being a false brother and that he never mocked Stump and he never said anything against him. And everybody in the room agrees at that point in time after Stump storms out because he can't prove his point because there's no point for him to prove. He gets proven wrong, but then the next day, because he threatens to leave the group because it didn't go the way he wanted it to, everybody falls into lockstep, and it was actually Christian that was at fault in that encounter. Never mind the fact that everybody agreed he wasn't at that time. It was actually Christian's fault, and he needs to go.
But is it an expression of kind of misguided tribalism?
I mean, you could call it that, but that would be there's an issue there because there's internal struggling, right? Like, so I mean, they're not really in lockstep, and they're not really a tribe. They're just like a mother goose is trying to get their ghostlings in line.
Best of luck with that.
That's
like
that's
I just
a
think it's.
nice analogy.
But the problem is, though, that's not how they portray it. They're not honest with how they portray their community. It's not. They don't phrase it like it's a mother goose trying to get their goslings in line. They try to make it seem like our community, where oh yeah, everyone's just allowed to have their own views no matter what, and you're just able to speak your mind in an open context, and that's perfectly fine. That's not it. I'm sorry,
Well,
Dustin. You
no,
hung around
I
here.
am the one black swan to your perfect analogy. I'm sorry. I have been able to say damn near anything I wanted over there, up
Oh,
to
I've
and
acknowledged
including
that.
cursing.
I've
Okay,
acknowledged
so
that. No, I've acknowledged
sorry.
that. I think there's definitely a fly in the ointment of my example.
I've heard Dustin be kicked off their show several times, and Stephen going off about him. So he doesn't get away with anything he wants.
Not
to
lately. Not lately. No. Yeah, not lately. Yeah, they've definitely throttled back on me a little bit, like because they don't want to hear my point of view, or if I ask a question that challenges their perspective, yeah, they'll throttle back on me. Now, it used to be a lot better. I used to be able to voice my opinion like I do here to a degree, but but I understand the other end of the argument too, because I can get pretty challenging.
No, you just.
Oh,
who, me?
Yeah.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Crybaby is gone, I think.
No, Crybaby was the one that disappeared.
Oh no.
No, but he cut out.
Oh, maybe he cut out for you. I was able to hear him.
He spat the dummy. He spat the dummy.
It was probably
and it's okay to a certain degree. I had to be put in check. There was some things I was saying that were maybe a bit beyond the line. Right. But I stand by what I say about Stump. Right. And I believe that what I say has merit, and I think that as long as there's animosity and there's no reconciliation, it's going to be harder and harder for me to go over there. Because the other day he felt the need to go out of his way to make a disclaimer about one of my claims, and I'm like, man, I don't do that to you. Like, if that's not a personal jab, or at least not something that I could perceive as that, like,
what was the context of it? Like, I just want to give him a fair shake in the example that you're giving. Like, what was the context of what was going on, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I voiced my opinion about the Second Amendment, and he felt the need to go and make a disclaimer about it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right, and it's all good and well, but the other end of the equation is I'm sitting there watching people unload their like 30-06, right, and their semi-automatic rifles on YouTube all the time, and like it just seems odd that would be the thing that he needs to make a disclaimer about, right? Like, granted, part of my statement was enough ammo for everybody to kill everybody, but if you think about it, that means that everybody's equal in my eyes.
I honestly do. I hope that you don't get ostracized from their community. Sorry, I was trying to think of the word ostracized. It wasn't coming to me. I kept thinking of I don't know why. Every time I think of ostracized, I think yes. Every time. Thank you. I always think of one ostrich getting kicked out of, I don't know what it is, a flock of other ostriches. And that's just the way my mind works. It really is. That's the way I make connections with things. But
remember
I hope you don't get off. That's right, the Great Ostrich War of 1976.
Yes.
No, I was just gonna say though, Dustin, I hope you don't get ostracized. And
it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. We don't see eye to eye on certain fundamental issues. Okay, and because of that, they're gonna eventually just kind of scoot me off out through the back door. It's nothing that I haven't been exposed to, like, in a lot of jobs, right? Because I'm stubborn about my position,
Yeah,
right? But that doesn't mean that I'm wrong, though. Like, if you were to examine my claims and were to put them against the evidence that I present, you would see what I'm talking about, right? But because they're in a position of authority, my side of the story never really gets told.
And I mean, at the same time, you said you're used to it. It's happened on jobs, etc. I don't know. I feel there's a difference between a workspace environment and a space that's supposed to be a friendly group. I mean, he calls it what does he call it?
Brother, a church.
Yeah, ministry.
Yeah, bitch.
And I feel it's potentially more severe to be kicked out from that environment. I mean, especially since I don't get the feeling that they have. What is happening?
Gangster Ghost.
It's Gangster Ghost.
Gangster Ghost, mute, please.
He's doing his little screen addiction thing.
Look, he's got a dopamine loop that he's going through right now. I've got a dopamine loop. I'm not gonna lie to you, all right? Like, I got a dopamine loop that I do every day with I'm addicted to the internet. I'm hopelessly addicted as well. I don't express it the same way Logan does, but look, man,
it's okay.
they've got their hooks in me.
I'm all about the
dude,
dopamine.
But this particular dopamine loop is particularly advantageous to my education. I'm learning all kinds of things and trying to refute Big Bad Mama in our conversations.
Yeah, like, I think if this wasn't
That's awesome.
At the very least, if not entertaining, intriguing to our minds on one level or another, I don't think we'd keep coming by here. And I think that's the thing that Steven kind of missed. Like, he thought that I just kept coming around to, like, troll or something like that, or to be disruptive. But I kept going around there because I thought the conversations that were being had were interesting, and I thought I could potentially add something to it. And there were plenty of times where that is exactly what happened. We went down a lot of very interesting paths based off of who was there and who was able to contribute to the conversation. Now, I've got another question for you, Dustin.
What's that?
Do you ever think? Do you think there is a single possibility out there, like a single universe out of all of them? If we're just gonna take a look, like we're trying to fight Thanos and we're trying to find the one universe where we can actually beat him. Do you think there's a universe where we get the communities back together? Is that just even a potential thing that can happen?
Buddy,
or is that just
I fired my golden bullet. I fired my golden bullet at point blank right into the monster's head. It did nothing. If it's gonna happen, it's not gonna be from my intervention.
Well,
and then the other end of the equation is, and I will end this end this necessarily statement by putting forth this interesting tidbit. I believe the most popular videos of Stephen Mullins is when you and I are having arguments. I'd be willing to bet those are the highest viewed episodes that Stephen has, is when you and I just start tearing into each other. Like, I bet you they're still watched today.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it was a month or two ago. I went back to one of the old videos where me and you were really hashing it out, when you were really getting on me about you were talking to me. What was your line of reasoning? It was about computer programs and computer programs analogous to genetic information and genetic coding. Those were some of my favorite Royal Rumble moments that I've had on that show, just because it was so engaging. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're right about that. I would say that besides me and you, you and Bruce have got the best interpersonal the best interpersonal interplay out of that whole panel, man. That was legendary. I really do wish he kept coming around.
It was like watching Michael Jordan, man. Like I just kept dunking it. Like, oh, what 3-point line? Let me jump from here.
Yeah, we knew he was gonna walk off the court eventually. I just hope he would have stuck around a little longer before he took his ball and went home, you know?
Oh man, I dunked on him so many times. I can't even remember them all.
And him and Chuck too. Chuck also got he got a fair amount of barbs in with Bruce, real good with some of their arguments that they had. Oh, Chuck tore Bruce apart when they were having arguments. Like he was not good at making argument. No, Chuck got legitimately upset with Bruce. I don't think I've scarcely seen Chuck get that legitimately upset than when he was talking with Bruce, because
he hardly I don't know who Bruce is, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. But Chuck, he hardly says a word. He hums.
No, he got him upset. He got him legitimately upset, and I was quite impressed with how he handled it, honestly. Charles, I mean, not Bruce, obviously. I was quite impressed with how Charles handled it, because it was clear that he was more upset than he was portraying, but he didn't let it get in the way of just tearing his arguments to shreds.
Yeah. What was the topic?
I'll pick one.
He was basically trying to get into how Father Chuck is his points are worthless, and he's a heretic because he baptizes infants, and that was really the thing that set Charles off when he was getting into the whole infant baptism thing. Yeah, he got really upset with that. That was I've scarcely seen a better argument for infant baptism than the one that Charles laid out in that argument there. Like, he just basically gave Bruce nowhere to go, and surprise, surprise, when he had nowhere to go, he just started going, well, you're useless, you're worthless, your arguments are worthless, and all that crap that Bruce usually does when he's cornered.
Do you remember that episode when Bruce was accusing us of going whichever way the wind blows, and I said we didn't go the way your wind was blowing because it didn't smell right.
That was the episode. That was the episode where he'll never be able to live this down. Steven said when me and Bruce were having it out, Steven said about me, he was like, I just want to point out to you, Bruce, that the atheist is acting more Christ-like right now than you. Oh my gosh. I wish he could take that back so badly right now. I wish.
When in tax crimes he got
that one, and
put that on my channel, Claude. Under 10,000 every single day. Bruce. Dustin versus Bruce.
Serious.
What is going on?
I believe Claude Balls is trying to serenade us with his balls.
I think so. And Logan was trying to say something.
I want your money. I want your money.
I'm just trying to make a shot of it.
Send in your money. It belongs to me.
Big Bad Mama and I are working on some other songs as well. You have to have a laugh. Mind you, the words of that song, Excuses, are very, very true. So, you know, it's not just a laugh.
Come see my spool where hypocrisy is the rule. Yes, it's so great. It's so great.
I forget the name of that one. That was the first.
I need to tell you something, Ayden.
That one's a classic. That's a certified classic right there. What's up? What's up, Gangster Ghost?
I put all those three of that up there. Father Chuck versus Bruce 1, 2,
Yeah.
and 3. And even the clip where he said that about you and
Yeah, even
Bruce.
on your channel when you really didn't have many videos, you put those up and they got like 100 or something views each, or yeah, they were pretty popular for you not really having much of a subscriber base at that point, simply because you weren't making all that many videos.
And I put Dustin versus Bruce as well up there.
Yeah, I saw. yeah.
Every
Those
time you
are-
mention Bruce, man, I just have such a flood of it, of like endorphins from all the times. I just like with logic and reason, dude, shut up.
I just want him to come into this room so badly, right? I would pay real world money for his icon to just show up right now and to see Dustin's reaction. Oh my goodness, I would. I don't need to pay rent next month. I don't need to worry about that. This is what I really need.
I'm sure your wife would love that.
Hey babe, I'm not paying the rent. I'm paying to see some internet numpties argue. I as an internet numpty, want to see other internet numpties have it out. So I'm not paying rent next month.
I'm gonna be reading in the news about how Ayden got sued by his wife for rent money. The Supreme Court of Canada had to make a ruling. Oh, that's hilarious. She'll have me tied up on a stake and fire under me.
I think we should get Dustin and Deviant Outcast both laughing at the same time when they remember when Deviant lost the plot the other day. Couldn't stop laughing, and then we've got Dustin can't stop laughing. It would make a great video. Gangster, you can do it.
Yeah. Why are you putting Dustin versus Claude video?
No, we're having fun. But do you remember the other day? What were we talking about? And Deviant completely, he couldn't stop laughing.
Horror.
Oh, the image of Herman in the song. Yeah.
The song Mankini.
Oh no.
Yes. Gangster made a video with Kenton wearing this interesting costumes, and poor old Deviant nearly lost the plot.
I can honestly say I've never laughed like that ever in my life.
Sorry.
I mean, I have laughed to myself to pieces, but I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
There were no end. I thought my head was going to explode.
Oh, sorry.
It felt like my ears weren't on my head. They were like on the side of me. Yes, it was insane. I kind of hallucinated. It was madness.
I'm starting to believe what they said about you and mushrooms earlier. Ayden, you just outed her, man.
Have you, Ayden?
I think it was Ayden. I'm pretty sure he made that connection.
Yeah, otherwise it would have. It could have been Cry Baby. No, it must have been Ayden. It's always Ayden.
It's always Ayden. It's always Ayden.
Just dump it
no,
on
sometimes there's a ball hair around, you know, every once in a while. Ball hair. We need a ball hair, not a strike hair.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh, thank you. It
Okay, you're welcome.
What just happened?
Well, probably Ayden's had a problem with his connection. Claude. I also put, yeah, you want to see like all these old videos about the shows used to be like? I call them the arch of the other cheek.
When did you
The
put
Church
that
of the Other Cheek. Yes, I do.
When did you put it up so I can have a look? Can you send me a link?
That was back when I was Gospel Warrior.
Ah.
Yeah. I got
The
Church
triumphant
of the
buttocks.
Turner Cheek. Church of the Other Cheek, all kinds of.
Yes, well, I had a very bad experience with turning the other cheek recently when I was last in Paris. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can imagine.
A Frenchman came up and kissed me on both cheeks, and it was a bit embarrassing because I was tying up my shoelaces at the time.
I mean, I believe that's custom, isn't it?
Well, it depends on which way you bend.
Yeah, it was. Yes, the upper cheek is quite normal. The lower cheek, not quite so.
I mean, you never know. He could have been a tourist and he was confused about the custom.
Could be. Could be.
Yes, that's right. That's very good. Oh my God. He's just confused.
Right. He thought he was going along the right line.
Oh, here's this one Turner Cheek video where Brother Pike saying he doesn't wear shorts.
What?
Remember that, Dustin?
I'm drawing a blank.
DB asked him, "Are you sure you don't wear? You're one of those southern folks that don't wear short breeches or something like that?" What do you ask him? Do you wear pants?
That's
even
starting to ring a bell. Yeah, because he was supposed to be the centerfold, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
And
things are getting weird again in my head.
Oh no! Are you all right?
Oh yes.
Are you hallucinating, Outcast? Is that what's going on here? Did you get it? Did you find some more shrooms in the backyard? Did you brew yourself some mushroom tea?
I did.
Somebody talking about mushrooms.
You know how to find psilocybin, right?
Oh yeah, they grow down in the valley, not valley.
But you know how to identify them, though, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
How?
Well, you look at them.
The number one way, the number one method for identifying a psilocybin mushroom, you scratch the stalk and see what color it turns. If it turns blue, it's psilocybin. If it turns black, it's poison.
Is it blue?
Blue is psilocybin. Sometimes it's red, but that's usually because the mushroom isn't done growing.
Oh, is it true you eat the mushroom, you get?
I think. Oh my goodness, what's the name of that? Because we don't have cubensis growing in the wild here. They are called toppstadsskivling.
You got Amanita muscaria there.
Oh, that one we have. I've not gone down that road. It tends to end badly. Vad sa jag alldeles nyss? Varför frågar jag er? Hur ska ni kunna veta det?
Oh, that was... I want to say something, but I'm going to be polite.
What happened?
She said something, and it triggered a certain portion of my brain.
Oh. What part of your brain?
I don't want to go down that road. Liberty Cap, yes. Liberty Caps are awesome.
Yeah,
they're
that's
golden,
the one,
right?
Yeah.
But those are golden with white spots.
No. Liberty Cap is they are like not really golden, kind of beige, brown, yellow.
Okay, I mean, I call it gold.
Yeah, but they look like a golden retriever, that color, kind of.
Right.
And with the black, what's it called? The one that's under the cap. What are those called?
Oh, I forget. The stem?
No, not the stem. Under the cap. Yeah, it's like lameller.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. Like the word's not coming to my mind.
No, and I don't know the word in English at all. But
who is showing us? What is that?
What is that? What is creationist crybaby showing us here?
Yeah, what is that?
Something
polka dots. Polka dots. Something.
It's in reverse on the screen.
Oh.
So he turns it upside down. Go 80 degrees. Go 180 degrees. Go 180 degrees. 180 degrees. There you go. Stop. Yeah, that's polka dots.
I know.
What are you? Did we pick up a Father Chuck all of a sudden? And Mrs. Father Chuck.
Hello, grace and peace to all of you. Father Charles here.
That was a magic mushroom candy bar.
Oh, is that what that was?
Well, I don't approve of any of that.
You can buy them at stores where I live.
Where do you live? Do you live in Oregon or do you live in Colorado? Because I know you don't live in Washington.
How about you mind your own damn business, hippie?
It's one of God's creations. You're allowed to eat it.
Yeah, it makes you.
It gives you a good trip.
Yeah, I mean, like people like Lupin are trying to and Steven are trying to stigmatize me for smoking weed. I mean, like I don't know what passage of the Bible is against smoking of the herb of the earth.
You eat mushrooms, you get big like Mario.
It's true. It's true. I can speak from experience.
Logan.
You know, when we were having a laugh earlier about the kissing the Frenchman on the both cheeks, do you remember when, you know, that Ali G guy, what is it, Session Baron Cohen? And he got this Republican state representative called Jason Spencer to teach him counter tactics to being attacked by Islamists, and he got him to drop his trousers, and he was yelling out racial slurs and doing all sorts. Have you ever seen that one?
Was that
wait.
Borat?
I've got to send. I shall email it to you, to some of you. It is worth a look for a few minutes. This guy goes absolutely crazy, and he's getting rid of the gay people by dropping his trousers and bending over and thrusting his butt at them. It's just it's all, because the Israeli counterintelligence person, which is really Sashin Barak Cohen, is telling him to. It is so funny.
It's so countering. That sounds so counterintuitive. Are you okay, Ayden? Do we need to get you an ambulance?
I know that.
No, that's deviant. That's enough out of you. That's enough.
Borat?
I forgot to mute. I apologize. I forgot to mute.
That's all right.
I'm gonna kick you in your nuts, Ayden. I thought you were having a heart attack.
If you're gonna kick, you know what? If you're gonna have to, if you try to kick me in my nuts, Dustin, you're gonna have to go through a massive weed cloud before you get to me. So by the time you even get to me, you're gonna be so high through the contact high that you're gonna forget where you are.
I will smoke you under the table.
Oh, don't you? No.
I will smoke you under the table. I promise you that.
It won't. I will come out. I will go to Washington right now.
I'm not in Washington, but we will set a date for this, buddy. I will put down fatty stacks. I will hit off zongs, bongs. I will clear a 6-footer right before your eyes and blow it in your face. Let's go.
Look. I'll admit to you right now. Am I gonna hit it well? Probably not. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a good memory of mine. So, I used to have a friend named Josh, and Josh ended up, due to extenuating circumstances with his family, he was living in a bus behind a school over the summer, and I was bringing him food and blankets and stuff that he needed. Whenever I'd come over, I'd also bring a little bit of herb. And he had, knowing that I was going to come over with some herb in hand, knew that we might want to spice things up as far as how we were going to imbibe said herb. So he rigged up a device which was basically a funnel, a sieve in order to catch everything and keep all the material in place, and a really long, like 3 or 4 foot long PVC pipe. And I'm not talking about a very small funnel. This is a big funnel that's able to hold quite a bit of volume. So we fill this thing up, basically as full as we possibly can with all of the stuff I've brought, and we light it up. And all I see from one side of the bus is this smoky death approaching from one side over to the other. It's just snaking its way through the PVC pipe, and I get through it. I'm able to get through all the smoke, but that was the one time in my entire life that I had to like roll down the bus window and just hack all over the ground right underneath. Oh, it was really bad. I was really, really bad. I was on the moon for like the next hour. I can hardly tell you a single thing that happened after I threw up out that bus window. But yeah, that was. But suffice it to say, I could probably clear the 6 foot bong like once or twice, and I'll cough my lungs out, but I'll be able to keep doing it. Like I'll be able to recover, and I'll be able to just keep going. So I don't know, man. You think that this is gonna be a rollover competition, but I've got some experience for my age.
If you think that the 6 footer is where it stops, that's not where it stops, right? Because the 6 footer is introduced, then we introduce the cross blunt. And if you don't know what that is,
I know what that is. I'm intimately familiar with that is.
Okay, and then we get the spliff. Okay, and then if you're still around after that, I'll roll a ching ching chong, motherfucker, and then we'll see who's really real.
I was smoking British spliffs, my friend. I was out there for a month on my vacation, and I was smoking the original, the OG British spliffs nonstop. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't good for my lungs. I'll tell you that much. I'll cough my lungs out right in front of you, but I will be able to do it.
Buddy, like that's just the beginning of my night. Okay, you just don't like. I used to live in houses
where we used to stop talking. Logan, hold on, just real quick. Logan, are we going off base for your channel?
The ching ching chong requires 7 papers long and 4 papers wide. That is the ching ching chong.
After Tommy Chong, probably.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Ayden, could
absolutely
nice.
And
what was that?
Thing you're going? What about Skyler? Could he beat you?
You know, Skyler might be able to smoke both of us under the table. I'll be totally honest with you. There's a distinct possibility.
He worked at a bud farm. There's a possibility. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I only used to live in a house where our furniture was the bud. He actually had 24-hour access to the real source. I happen to know there's a difference. Like I was just right next to the source. I didn't get to go see the fields, but I was where the distribution was out of. So
you were one level ahead of me then. You got to be the guy that knew the guy that like sold Starbucks their beans. I just got the beans from the distributor, unfortunately. I mean, like I got pretty good prices not too long after I first started, but yeah, when you first break into that market when you're like 14 years old, you basically have no option but to get shafted unless you know somebody. Like you're paying double price for a year or two unless you know the connection, unfortunately.
Buddy, look, that was the advantage of having the parents that I did. Okay, I knew what the street rules were. Not only did I know what the street rules were, but I wrote a few myself. Okay, I can smell it. I know where the drug dealers are. I know where the heat is. Dude, like that's my wheelhouse right there.
Biggie Smalls may have wrote the 10 crack commandments, but Dustin Buck wrote the 10 weed commandments.
Mark
no,
just said that
buddy.
Skyler's a lightweight.
Is he a lightweight?
Is he?
He does say he doesn't smoke a lot. That is true. Honestly, I need to go on a tolerance break.
It is kind of an advantage to be a lightweight.
No, it is. That's what I'm saying when I say I want to go on a tolerance break, because I need to.
Oh yeah, you will when you get back. You're gonna understand how much you have smoked that's just been wasted.
But you need to understand though, before I do my tolerance break, I need to do the 2023 Weed Olympics with Dustin. Like the Weed Olympics need to happen now, and I'll tell you what, I'm going for that gold. I know that he's going to be training. I'm going to be training. It's going to be like you know how like Olympians. Well,
can we open up another channel and have it streamed?
Oh, I'm sure we could. It'll be legal in Washington. Although I would age restrict it though.
Well, of course, you got to age restrict it, but yeah, we could do that. We'll stream it, and you know what, man? I just got to tell you, like, you know how Olympians will like train on like high altitude environments.
I want to be a judge.
I'll tell you what. We'll make this completely fair. We'll go into the drugstore, right? I will buy a half pound. You will buy a half pound. If you want to pick a different brand, that's okay. I'm going for the best that I can find.
Blue Dream,
and
my
may
friend.
the best man win.
Blue Dream. That's all I need. That's all I need. Blue Dream. Just half a pound of Blue Dream, and I'm good to
you're
go.
a sativa guy.
Oh,
you're a sativa guy. You're in trouble. I'm an indica guy.
You know what? Blue Dream is my favorite. It's my favorite strain, but you need to understand the reason why I'm going sativa is because I'm going the distance. I love indica, but I know that if I'm smoking half a pound of indica, I'm just gonna die. Like they're just gonna wheel me out of there in a stretcher. Now I like indica and I respect it, but at the same time, I know that if I'm gonna be imbibing that much, I'm gonna want to do sativa. It's like if you're gonna drink a crap load of alcohol, if you want to do a kegger of alcohol, would you rather do?
I would not put up with a wide awake drunk. Okay, there's nothing worse than a wide awake drunk. Don't go there. You this guy over here.
Blue Dream is a hybrid, by the way. It's not either a sativa or an indica.
Well, it's sativa leaning, and
I
like pure. I like pure indica.
There.
It's still sativa. There's sativa. Like I go for pure indica. Pure.
No, but you're right.
As pure as I can find it.
I probably should go for a pure sativa strain then, rather than a hybrid. But maybe the hybrid is the
pure ones. There are no pure ones.
I know.
Okay, you can slap me with that technicality.
I know, but
listen, I know sativa. I know the best sativa. It's great.
Years and many hours.
You don't want to see me on sativa, bro. I'll go bouncing off the walls. I'm a natural hyper. Like you just don't understand. Like.
Logan, I just want to say thank you for accepting the cesspit that is this group of people having this horrible, degenerate conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're like Matthew. You're like Matthew when you give host to the apostles. It's basically like a group of homeless men shuffling into your house, and you're just like, yeah, all right, yeah, you can come on in.
Let's see how much you guys know here. Okay, there's indica, sativa. What's the third type?
I know.
What? What are you
cannabis
talking about?
Sativa, cannabis indica.
And there's the third type. Oh, I know. No.
What, you mean like the stuff that they make rope out of? Hemp?
It's called cannabis ruderalis from Russia.
Fuck.
Can you smoke it? Because if you don't,
they can use it as a hybrid to get to high latitudes and grow it there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know.
Oh, did they grow it in like the Ural Mountains or something like that?
It's from that area, yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Huh.
I mean, like, considering that the Hindu Kush isn't exactly the first environment you'd think of when you think of a good place to grow marijuana, I guess that's not too surprising.
Isn't that the one that you can grow
Afghani goo.
even when they can't get 12 of and still go in bloom?
Do you mean mutated?
No. Oh my god, I tried. Is it Northern Lights? There is.
Oh, I've had Northern Lights. That's some good stuff. That's the really the really purple stuff, isn't it?
Yes, that is the straight purple bud.
I know.
That's the only time that you have Northern Lights, and anybody who tells you that green crack stuff is Northern Lights, kick them in the nuts and run away.
Well, no, green crack is its own thing, and green crack is plenty good all by itself. No, there's no actual crack in it to anybody that does not smoke weed. It's just a strain name.
This is a variety. It's a hybrid between. I think it is this
Ruderalis.
Ruderalis, yes, and indica that grows. It's lower, so it's more bushy, and you don't need to give it 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of darkness to get it to bloom. So you can grow it outdoors in climates like Sweden, for instance. I've never tried it.
Yeah, but the seeds are extremely hard to get a hold of, though.
Oh yes. Also, you shouldn't do it in Sweden because it's very much
illegal there,
not
isn't it?
legal at all.
Oh wow. Well, hold on a second. You're telling me they don't have a tax stamp?
What?
Yeah, you can pay the tax stamp. It'd be legal to possess, but not to consume.
Nope. Not here.
Really?
Tramp stamp? What?
Tax. I would you put your head back in the game over
evolving. Here. Shut it down, Logan.
Get it out of your gutter there, over there, Mr. Bad Mama. Big bad mama. Big bad mama. Get back in your room.
Let me mention something to you guys real quick. You're talking about the competition. There's a song just about that topic, and I want you guys to listen to it sometime. It's called "The Smoke Off" by Shel Silverstein. Watch it. I think I'll put the thing in the private chat.
It's a competition as old as time. It really is. And I will say, I am as of yet undefeated in my smoke. I've had 2 in my life. That's not a lot. I'm not acting like it is.
You won't be able to walk away. I am telling you now. I've done this too many times. You just might as. I'm telling you.
It'll be all the more, dude. You're like Mike Tyson right now, though. You're like Mike Tyson talking to Buster Douglas. That's what you don't understand. Is that you're the guy that's undefeated so far, and you're like, yeah, it's all right. I'm not even gonna train for the fight. I'm not even gonna worry about training for it because I'm just gonna annihilate the Buster. It's not even gonna be an issue, and then I just knock your ass out, dude. And then you're dragged out, and you don't even know what the hell just happened.
We'll see what happens. As a matter of fact, I hope I get that high. I haven't been that high in a long time.
What do you think Scott Cattle said?
Oh, a topic on which I'm glad to say I don't have a clue. Good for you, genuinely. It's a money pit. It really is. Good for you for not throwing your money away into that money pit.
Speak for yourself, man. Like, a lot of the stuff I get's free.
Good for you. Good for you. Not everyone is fortunate enough to be in that position, unfortunately.
Ayden,
I hear there's a lot of drug taking.
I bet you could be.
CAL. Is that true?
Mark? I'd be willing to bet that your neighbor or your neighbor's neighbor or someone that your neighbor knows, right? Like that. Like, I'm really good at social networking. I just don't make very many friends.
See, that was my problem. So we lived in the place that I named the address for. Who was that was threatening to dox me? back on Brett Keene's show. There was somebody that was threatening. That was you.
There's a
That was you,
list.
Dustin. That was you.
No, I wasn't threatening to dox you. I was threatening to come kick your
it
ass.
wasn't that you were threatening to dox me. Yeah, you were like, "Where do you live? Give me your address so I can go kick your ass." Was what you said, and then I
That's
gave
exactly
you my
what I
address, and then I gave you the exact address of where I live.
And then you
said,
moved
"Come
away,
here
you dick.
kick my
And then
ass."
you moved.
I did
You
move. I
moved, you
did. But
dick.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that address that I was living at that I gave you, literally the person next to me in that duplex was somebody that was smoking as well. I didn't find out until literally the day that I was moving. They were like, "Hey, I noticed that you were smoking out back the other day. You want to have a joint?" I was like, "Fuck yeah." Oh,
Yeah.
it was such a tragedy. It really was. It was a real tragedy to think of all the sessions, the potential sessions that were lost.
Marijuana, much like beer, has always been a social, it's a social drug.
It is. It's a social
in every
lubricant.
setting. Yeah, in every like, I can't think of a single time throughout history where it's just been that way.
Where's Claude?
I don't know where Claude went. Well, Claude's in France. I mean, you ever heard of French weed in your life? Let's be honest.
He's probably. You're probably straight edge, aren't you, Claude?
Well, I did do a joke there, but yeah, I'm not a drug person myself. I'm a bit straight, a bit boring, I suppose. But I did say earlier, I said, I spent so much money on wine, drugs, and women. The rest I wasted.
Well, wine is definitely a top tier drug. I've got to give you that.
But I did hear that at Dino Land, there's quite a bit of drug taking, but they have to keep it quiet from Ovand. I'm not sure if in the days when, especially when Steve was there, the tech guy. I think.
I understand it's not just weed. It's.
Oh, don't! Come on.
He was doing harder substances than that.
Look,
that's what Mark is attested to. So, I mean, if you want to talk with anybody about that, talk with Mark.
If that's the case, then we need to make a report to the local sheriff. That has to happen.
That already happened.
But the
people have already talked about that.
Yeah, his owner.
Steve Lynn is no longer at DAL. Yeah. Steve Lynn hasn't been at DAL. For
anyway, when we get back to I had a question for Claude. Do you have access there in France to the original formula absinthe?
No, I don't. I know. Funny, I always say when I think of absinthe, I think of the English phrase, absinthe makes the heart grow fonder, but I'm thinking no, I've never been, apart from wine, I'm not been a real drinker, so but I know.
Oh man, I tried absinthe one time, man. I'm telling you, if you ever get the opportunity, especially being in France, try the absinthe.
I mean, many years ago, I tried. I mean, I know. Oh my goodness, you could get really drunk and wrecked on it. It's so powerful. It's like
but it was the hallucinations that was what made it worth it. Really? The ringworm. Or what was it? It was the wormwood or whatever that's in there. That you start tripping.
Ringworm is something else. Wormwood
I know. I misspoke.
Hey, you're meant to dilute it with water and not drink it straight.
I skipped that portion. And I was really young, dude. I got fucked up. I got fucked up. I couldn't walk straight. That was an insane experience I'll never forget. I just know, if I was in France, man, and I don't think I could keep away from it. I really don't, because that's where the original.
We got to keep Dustin away from France.
Well,
we got to keep Dustin away from
also,
France.
If you go to Germany or Austria, not Australia, but Austria, they have drinks called schnapps, and it's about the same. It's pretty bad. There's one called Glacier Ice in English. It's a blue color, and my God, it blows your head off. You could start a car on it, I think. You could run your vehicle on that. It's terrible. So there's lots of things can blow your head off,
One of the oddest things I've ever seen in my
in like foreign alcohol choices is that I've seen that there's some countries that like Belgium and whatnot, they'll put chocolate in their wine. They'll have chocolate wines, and it's just why I don't understand.
Because chocolate is a natural endorphin.
Right, and if you have it separate to the wine, that's perfectly fine. I've never, maybe it's because I've never had it myself, but
have
it's
you ever
just
heated
something
your wine? Have you ever heated your wine before drinking it?
Glühwein.
Try it. Try heating your wine.
I've had warm mead. I've never had warm wine.
Yeah,
try heating your wine and dropping some chocolate in it. I'm told that it makes a different experience of your wine.
And you can soak it in some cloves. What's that? Cloves? It's an herb. Some people they eat a clove if they have a tooth problem, ache. Well, you can heat the wine with honey and cloves, and very nice in the middle of winter. A red wine.
Right.
America? Not really.
What about claude?
No, they don't. But I know about it because I'm cold-chilled.
All right, it's called mulled, M-U-L-L-E-D, mulled wine. It's quite nice. It's better than normal wine, I think.
What about claude?
I'll have to give that a try.
I am not a rube. I understand culture of different people.
Yes.
Dustin, have you ever been partial to wine yourself, Dave? And if you do ever drink red wine,
I don't drink. I learned my lesson when I was younger. I don't drink anymore.
Hey, then fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
I'm thinking about start drinking again.
Well, I mean, you've been around this community long enough. I was about to say, you've been in this community just long enough that, yeah, I don't blame you for thinking about striking up a drink and having it again.
We tackle extreme opposites, and we have like mind-bending conversations that end up in conscious-shattering debates.
Well, I had a lovely I got a Bordeaux Superior from 2018, and I had some of that yesterday with our chicken fried steak. I'm probably gonna have some more of that with our leftovers once I'm off the stream.
Red wine.
You don't like red wine?
No, I get headache. It's
Really?
almost I get a headache from thinking about it. Not really, but.
Well, that just tells me that you had too much red wine at some point in your life, and that's okay.
No. I promise you, I haven't.
Hey,
the only thing I do.
Wait, have you been to the doctor recently?
Me? No.
Yeah. If you're telling me that you drink red wine and that you get a headache like either during or immediately after, that's sign of because red wine thins the blood. Right, and that usually raises the blood pressure. That tells me that there could be a possibility of an aneurysm or a stroke.
Oh,
you need to go get checked.
I actually take beta blockers to lower my blood pressure because another.
Copy that.
So that I do. I was actually shocked. I've always had really low blood pressure, and then a couple of years ago, I felt so from where I'm sitting now at my computer to my bed, it's like 3 meters max. I couldn't walk that distance without stopping midway and lying down on the floor because I got so tired. And I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And then they checked my blood pressure, and it turns out another medicine I take, ADHD medicine, after many years of use, suddenly it spiked my blood pressure.
My wife used to get an headache quite a lot too.
Yes, Claude, we are very sorry about that.
She got headache a lot.
Did your wife pass on?
No. Well, she moved on. Yeah, but no.
Oh.
You know what it's like.
I've been there.
Yeah, but that's okay. Sometimes it's best for both people, and it was okay. Everybody thought it was for the best, so that's always good. It's when one doesn't want to or one wants to, it can get awkward. But yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
but in the end, you don't want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you, and
yeah.
So, but it doesn't mean it's fun when it happens.
No, well, that time, Claude was getting in the mood. Oh, darling, oh, I've got a headache. Oh, well, it's not your head I'm interested in, but it didn't make any difference,
Oh, wait a second.
Worst excuse.
Now the picture's starting to come in a little more clear as to why. I'm starting to see what's going on here.
Oh man.
Well, we always all have those.
I once saw a guy affected by something have a boxing fight with someone who wasn't there, and he lost.
Hey, the story of my life. It's the story of my life.
It's always the worst when you lose when you're shadow boxing,
Yeah. It's like me. I lose every argument I have with myself. It doesn't matter what the topic is. I lose every
It doesn't
time.
matter how ironclad your original points were. You'll find a way. I mean, there's no better critic than you. Ultimately.
That's so true. It's a curse and a blessing.
Oh,
it's
you are your own worst critic.
That so many people lose out on, though. Like, well, you say that as far as your own worst critic, but you're also your own best critic, because there's nobody that's better equipped to, really delve into the intricacies of why you're thinking what you are than you. So, I mean, like,
you
that
are
just
your
goes
own
into
worst critic, but you are simultaneously your own best cheerleader.
Yeah, if that were the case, it would be awesome. But I'm best at fooling myself and criticizing myself. Those are my superpowers.
Have you ever identified the mechanisms of the brain?
Which mechanisms?
There's some squishy bits.
Well, I mean, that's not okay. So when I say the mechanisms of the brain, I'm going more psychological than I am actual like hardware.
Oh, yeah.
So there's tools in the brain, right, that are a result of a routine bodily function of the brain, right? Certain glands that allow for automatic functions and return of data. So these things are symbolized in mental, how do I put this? So like when you say you fool yourself, do you manifest that as a third person experience, or do you see it as an other entity that's separate and apart?
Not as much now.
But which ones?
So the not compartmentalizing, but dissociative.
Dissociation. Yeah. So then you had displacement issues.
Yeah.
Okay. So did your doctor recommend lithium?
No. Lithium is for bipolar disorder. I don't have bipolar disorder.
Well, but in certain doses, it can also, or I mean, there's certain dosages that can help with, because I mean, also you also have a blood pressure issue too, right?
Yeah.
There could be a link.
Oh, but the blood pressure thing is because of my ADHD medicine.
So you didn't say you had ADHD before. That changes a few things.
I didn't. I thought
No,
sorry.
you did. I believe that you did mention that you had ADHD and that was the reason why your blood pressure spiked.
Yeah.
Because of your ADHD medication.
Right.
Did you?
Right.
I didn't hear that then. I didn't hear you mention that.
Maybe you should have been listening, Dustin. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I was listening. I heard something that kind of scared me, and I went, I was concerned because she explained something that was a symptom, and I didn't know if it was diagnosed or not. So that was just concern.
I very much appreciate it.
And, hold on. We've got a comment. Recreational drug and alcohol abuse is not a topic for Christians. There's a lot of brothers in bondage to these sins. Think about it, Logan. Don't get dragged down in this nonsense. Well, I mean, like, addiction to a substance is a very multifaceted issue, Stump. So, although I'm sure you're not willing to listen to what I have to say on the topic of addiction, it's not. It's an illness, is what addiction is, right?
No, addiction is the symptom of the illness.
Yeah, true, but it can actually be the illness itself. I believe.
I mean, if you're talking about alcoholism and withdrawal, or maybe like heroin and withdrawal, I agree as far as that's concerned.
Well,
but the drug itself is not the problem. It's the symptom.
Yeah. It's a symptom of something, some other issue. But I do believe, because it has a quite significant genetic component to how deep you fall into.
That's not conclusive, though, because if we were going by that logic, I should be a raging drug addict. And I smoke weed, but right, so
not really, but
I heard that, Ayden. I heard that. You dick.
Well, I didn't do anything. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I heard it. I heard you.
Ayden?
No, I can hear what you're thinking, man. Don't go there.
No. I was literally just about to say that this whole conversation, I remember how this conversation touched off. And it was on the basis that I personally do not think that the imbibing of cannabis is something that scripture forbids. And Stump is talking about substance abuse of recreational substances. Now, I agree that, when we were talking about our smoke off thing, that would be an idea of massively abusing a substance. But be honest with me, Stump. Do you think me and Dustin are legitimately going to go and travel to Washington State and imbibe massive amounts of cannabis on a live stream? Or do you think that we're just messing around? Like, we're human beings. We're able to have conversations.
If we are messing around, I didn't know about it.
Oh, really? No? Oh, well. I'm sorry.
We were
I didn't
messing
mean to,
around
burst
about
your
it.
bubble.
I didn't know about it. Hold on a second.
I mean to burst your bubble.
Really? Like, it's going to go that route?
I was serious.
I mean,
hey,
look,
I will
we have the
sue
money.
you. I don't care that your wife is a lawyer.
If we have the money, if I had the money to do such a thing, Dustin, and the time, let alone the money, that'd be a horse of a different color. But I'm just talking about, like, the realistic chance of this happening.
Man, what you said constitutes a tacit agreement. I will hold you in Canadian court accountable. I will breach state lines as a felon.
Were you trying to say, you're trying to say something deviant?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Dustin.
Watch me have that magistrate eating out of the palm of my hand like a moose with maple syrup.
Well, yeah, you just have to. I was about to say, you just have to bribe him with syrup. That's all you got to do.
Right.
I would like to point out.
Go ahead. Deviant's trying to talk.
Thank you. Before we lose the plot, or you lose it, or I lose it. In relation to what Stump wrote, I would like to point out that Logan is his own person. What we talk about, he's intelligent enough to not just go out and do whatever he hear people talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like Logan is an adult.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room are all grown
there
adults. We all have the mental faculties.
Sure.
Well,
Speak for
okay.
yourself.
Think about it, Logan. Don't
Physically,
get
you are an
dragged down
adult.
in this nonsense. Of course.
Your brain is fully developed, Dustin. As far as biology is
I can't
concerned,
tell.
you are an adult. Well, exactly. Some people just kind of get stuck at a certain point. I'm not one of those. I'm definitely not an exception to that rule. But biologically speaking, our brains are developed. All right, we're adults, and Logan is most certainly an adult who's capable of understanding the nuance of hearing somebody talking about doing something versus wanting to do it himself.
I'm only pointing this out because it's the second time, and it's okay if Logan's okay with it. It's okay. I take a bit of issue with it because I think it's patronizing of Stump to
I agree.
act as if Logan can't think for himself.
There's a point where you're preaching, and then there's a point where you're enforcing, right? And this is one of those things where he doesn't understand that he's over the line. Like, you can't tell people what to do. Okay, if God is there to forgive us for our sins in the death of Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter what Stump's ultimate judgment is. The reason that he feels comfortable being able to say this is because he's been in a position of authority. He's been able to abuse that authority, and he's been able to do that without question. That's what happens when you're a police chief.
Ah, I see. Yeah, it's a bad habit. He should think about it. I don't think for a second that he takes anything I say into consideration.
I would not be shocked if he wasn't listening right now.
I guarantee he's flipping like a pancake over what I just said. He's over there on the phone to Steven. I can't believe what he just said. Blah, blah, blah. I couldn't care less, dude.
It's Stump is somebody that he wants to have his cake and eat it too, as far as he wants to sit in his ivory tower of his own ideals, and he wants to throw down these lofty proclamations about what you ought or ought not do. But he doesn't want to climb down from that ivory tower and actually sit there face to face with those people and understand what they're talking about, because that's uncomfortable to him. Because like the Sadducees and the Pharisees, he doesn't want to go into the slums and get his robes dirty, because that's just, I'm not allowed to be around the unclean. I don't want to get my robes dirty. I don't want to slum it with those lower people. That's what you embody when you do things like that, and you sit here in the chat, but you don't actually come on the show.
True. Logan?
Well, he might have to defend his position if he comes on the show, and he would have to think outside of the Bible in order to do it. Right? I mean, it's all good and well that you stand by the principles of the Bible. I don't stand outside of those principles, but I don't have to invoke them in order to have a conversation. Right? If the Bible is all encompassing as it is, then you don't have to refer directly to it in order for those principles to be reflected in your. And I know what he's thinking right now. Oh yeah, you talk about me behind my back. You do the same thing. So
also, you actually, you really don't, because if he's in the chat, and he's welcome on. So
yeah, like Logan, I'm sure. And I just think it's worth pointing out as well. I literally did take a moment when we kind of really started kicking off in this conversation. I asked Logan, I was like, Logan, do you want to keep going with all this? Or like, do we want to kind of move it to a different direction? And he didn't say anything. Now, maybe you could interpret that as disagreement, but I feel like that was the perfect opportunity for Logan to go, yeah, let's move on and do something different, guys.
No answer is an answer in itself. If silence is compliance, I'm sorry. It would be the same thing if I was silent on the matter.
Logan,
no, you don't need to be sorry about anything, Logan. There's nothing to be sorry about.
Logan,
I was busy doing something. Oh,
what were you saying, Logan? Is it okay?
I was busy doing something. What do you
He's
guys
spying on Kent Hovind.
Oh.
Ayden was making a proclamation about your intention and whether or not we were supposed to go a different direction.
would you guys like to talk about that Kent Hobel video I made the other day?
You always gotta bring it back to Ken. Sure,
yeah,
I guess.
we could talk about that if you want. Yeah,
we can kick that dead horse some more if you like.
Nah,
You know.
last time she saw that video, she went crazy. Now, sorry about that, Miss Outcast. I'm so sorry about that.
No, Logan, it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. It was a bit taxing in the moment, and maybe I don't want to experience it right now.
I want to make sure everyone express themselves where they want to, and so nice and loving everyone.
You made an awesome video that had me laughing harder and more than I have laughed in all of my life, and I promise you, I laughed quite a lot.
I swear, if you're responsible for an aneurysm or a heart attack, Logan, I will never forgive you.
I'm sorry.
You're dealing with
there's no
with
amount
a
of sorry about that that's gonna cover that, Logan. I'm sorry, buddy.
That's a national treasure right there in Sweden, right? You do not take away their jewels, man. They get really mad about that.
It's true. Deviant Outcast truly is a national treasure.
Yeah, she is.
She's like the crown jewels.
What do you call her, Logan? What do you call her?
Angel lady?
Yeah, she's an angel lady.
You're too kind. I'm not. I'm awful.
I thought, did Missing Mud have a show earlier?
Today?
She had a test show the other day, and I kind of stopped in real quick. It was yesterday. She had a test show, and I dropped in and just said hello to her, and we had a really quick exchange before she got off. She was just doing like a couple minute long test stream.
I thought she said she was having a show this morning.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, but
if she did, then I wasn't there for that part of the stream. Then
I left, and I had to take care of my laptop. But when I came back, I didn't see her. She even have any show, but I wasn't sure.
Oh, interesting. I'd love to go on her show again. I just hope that it would be cool either if we were to go on her show or if she were to come back into the community. It's obviously up to her if she wants to still be part of things, but it would be nice to see her around because she's got a opinion that's different than most of ours in most aspects. So I think that it would be nice to have that diversity.
I get that it's hard for her, and
you're asking oil to mix with vinegar. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
I mean, if we can keep a homogeneous like vibration going through the whole mixture, then we have a vinegar oil mixture. But it's too much energy.
Were you doing the vibration there, Deviant?
Yep. all you need is a tiny bit of the yellow part of the egg.
Oh, the yolk.
What?
The yolk, yeah.
You're trying to get... Is the yolk on me now? I'm confused.
to bind the oil and vinegar.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Speaking of using eggs to bind things, I'm gonna go eat my chicken fried steak. I'm gonna go do that now. So.
All right.
Well, no, I have leftovers. Trust me, Deviant. I ended up getting 2 steaks that were like the size of my face. So there's like a good half of one that's still left in the fridge for me to eat right now. So I'm gonna throw that in the oven and heat it up.
What kind of chickens do you have in Canada?
No, chicken fried steak.
Do me a favor, because your wife already hates me, and I might as well go ahead and do it. Remind your wife that there's a rule in law not to ask a question unless you already know what the answer is. That's really gonna get her goat.
Oh boy, you know what? I'm gonna give her the choice to whether or not she wants to hear that. Do you have a response?
You don't want to bring that up, Ayden?
What was that, sorry?
You don't want to bring that question up?
I'm just gonna keep quiet.
she's so mad at me
I
right
have
now.
the right to remain silent. I'm pleading the fifth right now.
She's so mad at me right now. She's flipping pancakes, bro. I guarantee it.
What did you do?
Oh,
Have
dude,
you ever
I did the
considered
same thing.
receiving your own advice?
I do a lot.
Do you now?
Well, I won a lawsuit recently, so maybe I do.
That's awesome. And that's accurate too.
Oh.
You say, Logan?
Dustin.
I'm sorry.
Dustin,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I just really appreciate. Thanks. Thanks, buddy.
Logan is trying to say something.
You can't say I'm not a tactician. That's
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it, bro.
I'm sorry, Ayden, but I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Yeah, you're not sorry because you don't have to sleep on the fucking couch tonight, do you? You don't.
I can make an appeal. I can draw you up some appeal paperwork. Oh, that's from a drug addict.
Fuck you, Dustin.
Even
Fuck you.
Oh, check and mate, Ayden. Check and mate, my friend. I know.
Eat
Turnabout's fair play.
How about you just eat a big old pile of shit right now, buddy? How about you just go and do that?
Well, I got a shit-eating grin on my face. Is that?
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. You're already prepared. You got the equipment ready to go. You got the shovel and the pickaxe. Time to dig for gold, my friend.
Well, I hit a nugget today.
Oh yeah, you're gonna find a couple nuggets of something, my friend. I'll tell you that.
Oh, one in the hand is worth two in the bush.
Logan, Logan, what would you say that this is right now? It's
now you I can't even say it. I can't even say it. Oh, go eat your fried steak, buddy.
Oh,
I gotta go too.
I'm gonna enjoy that. I'm gonna enjoy that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh, that was totally worth it.
I had to go out for a few minutes. Is Stump coming on? I see he's made a comment. Is he coming on?
Oh, you think Stump's gonna come on? That ain't gonna happen on your life. He has no problem. He has no problem flinging a proclamation from his ivory tower, but he's not going to come down and slum it with us peasants.
Well, we are baby eating.
We're just carnal-minded sinners. That's all that we are. That's all the ever be able to find from anybody over here is just a bunch of carnal-minded sinners.
As I said before, I have all my skeletons on the kitchen table.
Oh no.
Well, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do because those are just all the people that you've sacrificed to Moloch.
Oh yeah.
That's just all you've been doing right now.
Hey, can I ask you, what does it mean if your cat likes to meow at your door and bring socks to you and drop it on the floor?
If they're bringing socks to you, that's if they're bringing that's like
go hunting.
Basically, well, it's not only that; it's them trying to reward you with things they think they've found.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to share something with you. They in their mind, it's foraging. Go ahead.
Bye,
Yeah,
Joe.
I've got to go pretty soon myself here, but yeah, I'll just leave off with, in their mind, when they find a sock or something like that, they're foraging around, and they want to share some of that with you.
You are
So
part
they'll
of
try to get your
their
attention.
family, their tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think of you as another cat, basically.
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's a sign of love.
Oh. Yeah. My cat likes to get stuff, a sock or anything, and go by my door, drop it, and start crying. I open the door and she runs off a lot of times, but I let her in.
I didn't know you had a cat. Cats
Yeah.
are the best.
Got 2 of them.
You do?
Yeah.
Are they long hair, short hair?
They're like a tiger cub type cat.
Oh, kitties.
Yeah. She's perm right
Kitties are
now.
the best.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
I wanted to let you know I have infected Stump in his
really?
carnal mind.
He was going to come in the room, but you forced him away, didn't you?
I will visit him in his dreams tonight.
Oh no.
Oh
no.
Stump,
you better batten down the hatches.
Or a threat?
I hope he's not taking recreational drugs.
The ST demon will know. They will know. And they'll get back to us on that too. They have loose lips.
I will report to you later.
Well,
We'll be
salutations,
waiting.
ST demon. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
protecting this chat from these horrible carnal-minded people.
I am Logan's friend and will protect his channel from the naysayers and the doomsdayers forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
ST demon.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you all.
Well, thank you,
We will abide by these
Lieutenant.
rules and words.
Well, now that he's gone, I was really nervous, but now that he's gone, I will say ST Demon is my regional manager.
Really?
He's my regional manager, and I've been his underling for quite some time. So I put in a good word with him, and now he's working for Logan full time. Usually, he runs a protection racket, and he asks for like exorbitant amounts of like souls or flesh or something like that. But I got him. I got you a really good deal, Logan. I got you the sweetheart of all sweetheart demonic deals. I'm the one that's suffering horrifically for it, but that's okay because now your channel is safe.
Safe.
Oh,
it's protected. That's awesome,
It's
Ayden.
It's one protected. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, guys, it's been really good. It's been quite a time. It's been 3 streams in a row. You've done a turkey. You really have, Logan. You've bowled 3 strikes in a row here, and it's been quite something to witness. Let's try to go 4 for 4. Maybe Stump will come by and have another temper tantrum. If you're still listening, get the fuck over yourself, Stump. Anyways, you guys have a good one. Take care.
You too.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Logan.
Thank
this was
you.
Awesome.
And when would do you still want to do that Egyptian?
Oh yes, yes. I'm glad you brought it up. Wait, I had a question about it. 3 seconds. Yeah, I had to remember the question. How long? Like, I mean, the thing is, I could probably just talk endlessly, but I don't really want to do that.
What would you like the show be called? Outcast is Egyptian talk. Walk like an outcast.
It depends a bit on topic I land on. I've been trying to like draw out some points in my mind. To kind of narrow it. Do you think, Logan, it's hard to answer, of course.
I don't know.
Because it's such a huge subject. Because Egypt it has such a long history and there are many components to it. So I was thinking about doing one that is kind of broad over like the history, and then I could perhaps at another, if people want to, and if you're okay with it, etc.
Yeah.
Go into like specific things in their mythology or in their beliefs about the afterlife or the role of the pharaoh or whatever.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh, awesome. Awesome, because I really have been trying to hash out what to talk about, and every time I start to draw in a thread, I realize they are all connected, and I'm not really good at sorting, organizing. It's all very chaotic.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay. But do you think, how long do you think?
Hour. 2.
Oh, awesome.
What'd be good for you?
I don't really. I think at first I was thinking like 45 minutes to an hour, and then I realized that might be way too long or too much or too I don't know. So that's why I thought I was going to ask you, because I realized that like when Christian has his Bible talks, he's on like 10 minutes, and I couldn't do anything in 10 minutes because I'm very long-winded.
Long as you like, what'll be good for you?
Awesome.
Can I call Demon Outcast is Egyptian talk?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, my cat likes to do that. she takes anything she can find, go there and drop it on the floor and start crying. I let her in
there. Cats are the best. They have so many ideas about how things are supposed to be. I think when she yeah, but you said you had 2.
Yeah, the other one's a crazy rat cat.
A crazy rat cat.
She, I think the same type of cat. I'm not sure, but she's a lot skinnier and smaller and younger, I think. But she's crazy.
Have you? Are they adopted or have you had them since they were kittens, or?
I had one I got found from on the street. My cousin found it for me, where she used to live. Another one I found at a pet store.
Oh, I'm so happy. I had, as I said, I had no idea you had cats. I love it when people have cats because I know how much they bring to the table. Oh, Big Bad Mama, love you, Big Bad Mama.
I love you too, Miss Akas. We all love you.
Oh, you're so nice. I don't really know how to express myself. But you all are so wonderful, and it means so much to me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
What day would be good? Oh, be any day.
Oh, that's. I mean, any day of the week. It's really no difference for me, since I don't work or anything like that. But I think I will need some time. I'm unsure I will have enough time to put something together because of I realized today that it's so you guys celebrate Christmas on the 25th.
Yeah.
We celebrate on the 24th. Wow. And I haven't even talked to my brother, so it's just I don't.
I need to. Yeah, it's weird. Next Sunday's New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
it'll be next
right.
year.
It's so weird. It's really weird. I can't really. No, it doesn't work in my head.
Yeah. Like probably 2 days after next, or whatever day will be good for you when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, as a it's difficult now because I don't even know if my brother wants to come here over Christmas, and if he wants to, it's kind of difficult because he if I invite him and say, yeah, come here on Christmas Eve at lunchtime, he can come 3 days later. Oh!
What happened?
No, I saw something from Missing Maud.
Yeah.
Is she here?
I asked her to come out.
Oh! Come on!
Yeah, you can when you're ready. Miss Outcast.
Yeah. Missing Maud.
She said,
Wait, oh, that's just 2 minutes. We don't know each other. I know I haven't answered you yet, Missing Maud. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I want you to come on so I can. Oh. Do you think she will come on?
I don't know.
think the same. What?
Oh, I
just heard that you don't want to be around me. No. What? No. I've never said that. Who said that? That's not true. Logan, is it possible to stop streaming?
You want me to stop streaming?
Yeah, if we can keep the stream but not let it go out to YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah. Want me to do that?
And maybe missing more.
Yeah. I will.
If she doesn't want to
Want me in there now?
talk to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what more do you want to. Yeah. Missing more. Do you want to come on if we stop streaming to the and never talk to each other? Because if you stop the stream now, Logan, she won't be able to answer, or we won't be able to see.
Oh.
Oh! It would be so much easier. That's a good idea. I would do that. I just can't right now. Will you be able to later, Missing Mod? Oh.
What happened?
She says she will be available in about an hour.
Okay.
Oh, I pray, lol. She says. I guess she means that she hope, or maybe she is praying. But it would be weird to pray and chat on YouTube at the same time.
Do you want me in the live stream? I talked to her on Facebook. I could ask her.
Oh yeah, yeah, awesome.
Okay. Want me in it? It's up to you.
Yeah, do that. So